Brennan.
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring.
Aye.
President Tinkerella. Present. Commissioner Mateo.
Here.
Commissioner Ryan. Loretta.
It's been a long day.
So thank you. So we are on item B of the regular agenda, which is staff introduction and recognition. So I would just like to start off with recognizing and introducing our new general manager, who wants really no introduction so that you can recognize and introduce your staff. But I want to say that with great pleasure, we welcome you, Jim Pruitt, to the Harbor District as our new general manager. And I know you've had a wonderful first week here. And I don't know if you want to say anything to members of the public, who I also know are very excited to have you here.
Last meeting, they introduced me and read my bio, so I won't read that again. But I started a week ago, and it's been fantastic so far, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody out here and with the commission and with the district forward.
Great. So do you want to do staff introductions and recognition here?
With that, we'll start with our new harbor master, Philip Point, Chris Gravy. You get to say a few words.
All right.
Please.
I'm Chris Tibby. I most recently was in Southern California as a yacht management company and a marine surveyor. Prior to that, I was in Bellingham, Washington, as the harbor master for Squalicum Harbor, which is very similar in makeup as we have here. And I'm just honored to have the opportunity to be here. And like Jim, I look forward to seeing our potentials come to fruition. So thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bellingham Marina 1400 slips and also certified marine surveyor. He's already been forged in fire there at Philip Point Harbor, doing an excellent job, starting right in the heat of things with the opening day of crab season.
Yes.
All the reports are
Exciting
off.
time, right?
Yes, it is. Exciting.
And Chris, we'll let you introduce Owen and Jeff.
Okay, great. I'd like to, with great pride and pleasure, introduce two of our newest deputy harbor masters. We have Jeff Brower and Owen Moore. Both of these guys are well prepared. They're watermen through and through to the heart. Jeff himself has been involved as a member of the Mavericks photo team on the PWCs. He's very familiar with operating craft out there. He's also been instrumental in developing surf rescue equipment for two different companies out of Santa Cruz, and has a strong background in sales and marketing, which is great in our customer service outreach. So we look forward to working with Jeff. And Owen over here, fantastic guy. He owns and operates a fishing vessel out of Crystal Bay up in Alaska, and did quite a bit of work in the building trades. And so he really does have a jack of all trades in that nature. And he and his wife and son live here in El Granada for the past 6 years. So he's really local.
Great. Well, welcome.
I'm already hearing excellent reports on professional customer service you guys are exhibiting. We really appreciate everything you're doing so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
We're happy to have you.
So there is some staff recognition that we would like to provide. And I'd like Vice President Kylan to present this to our interim general manager, mainly because she was instrumental in helping prepare this. You want to read this?
I stand up to read this?
So John, this is in recognition of the wonderful work you've done as interim general manager in 2018. So we wanted to provide a proclamation on behalf of the harbor board to you.
Well, thank you very much.
And now I have to sit through it, John. This is a proclamation by the San Mateo County Harbor District Board of Commissioners, County of San Mateo, to honor John Warren. Proclaimed by the San Mateo County Harbor District Board of Harbor Commissioners that John Warren served as interim general manager of the San Mateo County Harbor District from December 19, 2018 through December 10, 2019. John effectively carried out direction from the Commission, guided and managed staff, and continued his excellent work as operations interface at both Pillar Point Harbor and Oyster Point Marina. His capable management, professionalism, and expert knowledge have been a key part of the Harbor Commission's successes this year, including, excuse me, hold on. Including actively ensuring the district was staffed with highly qualified and professional personnel to include the recruitment and hiring of 2 new harbor masters and 5 new deputy harbor masters. Moving the pier and dock repairs forward at Pillar Point Harbor through active facilitation and process management, ensuring access through the clearing of the boat ramps at Pillar Point Harbor caused by excessive sand accumulation following unprecedented storm activity, successfully reclaiming and permitting the storage of 1,600 cubic yards of clean sand from dredging activities for future use in beach replenishment, and facilitating and assisting with the identification and purchase of the new district administration building lot. Whereas John, through his selfless dedication, has earned the respect of multiple agencies, including the California Coastal Commission, Coastal Conservancy, San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, City of South San Francisco, City of Half Moon Bay, Mid-Coast Community Council, as well as the local fishing community and various other associations. And whereas John has left his mark on the district through a commitment to his job as interim general manager, his role as a public servant, his commitment to transparency and public processes. His efforts have ensured that the public is provided with clean, safe, well-managed, financially sound, and environmentally pleasant marinas. Therefore, the San Mateo County Harbor District Board of Harbor Commissioners, County of San Mateo, State of California, commends and thanks John Moran for his service and accomplishments at the San Mateo County Harbor District while serving as interim general manager.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I'd just like to say real quick that I appreciated, as I've said before, I appreciated the confidence that the board put in me and allowing me to step in whilst we were in the search for a new permanent general manager. I did the best I could, but could not have done even as good as I did, I guess, had it not been for all of the staff and support from deputy harbor masters at both facilities, the administrative staff, and most importantly, the support of the public, all of the boaters, tenants, commercial fishermen, women were just very supportive and understood all the challenges that we were going through during this transitional time. And by reading that, it sounds like I'm going somewhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just back to my normal position. I'm still learning every day from Jim now, our new general manager, and hope to use the district and serving the public for many years to come. Thank you again.
Thank you, John. Thank you. There's definitely two. Okay, so we are on item C, and this is for public comments on items that are not on the agenda. I have 2 here. I know that, John, I don't know, John, do you want, is this for this public comment or is there a specific item?
Public
It didn't indicate.
Public comment.
Okay, perfect. So I'll open it up to public comment number 1 right now with Pam Van Stavern. Pam, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Please go up to
Yes.
the podium. And public comment has a limit of 3 minutes, so we're excited to hear what you have to say.
Okay, great. So my name is Pam Van Stavern. I'm from Stripe Inc., which is a company relocating at the end of 2021 to the Kilroy Oyster Point project in South San Francisco. I was part of the effort to relocate our headquarters to that area, and a major portion of the analysis was how to maintain a good commute for our employees. Currently, most of our employees take public transportation, do not take single occupancy cars, and so we are really keen to make that continue in Oyster Point and see the marina and the ferry service as a key part of that. So we're very interested in working with all of you and the new general manager to help increase the ferry service, public and private, to Oyster Point, to avoid some of the congestion that's there and really reduce single occupancy vehicles there. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you. Okay, our second public comment is from John Owen.
Thanks, Abby. Mr. Pruitt, your predecessor, not Mr. Moran, but the previous the general manager had a real great policy of, there was a section called Harbor District in the news, and he would basically send out emails to all district members. And I think it came up at meetings also when the district was in the news. Unfortunately, district made the news today. The Half Moon Bay Review did a bit of a study and determined that the 5 members of this board, or this board in particular, has the second worst attendance record of coastside agencies. And the one that has the worst is advisorial only and doesn't get paid. So you guys pretty much stand out as being the worst when it comes to attendance. Unfortunately, one of your commissioners chose to score political points by criticizing another commissioner for their lack of attendance. But of course, that was hypocritical, as that particular commissioner has pretty much the same attendance record, and Mr. Mateu's is even worse. But I thought your point was well made. There was a lot of special meetings. One of the things that Ms. Corrali mentioned was that the public deserves better, and we do. We deserve a lot better than the attendance record we have. We deserve a lot better than the way meetings have been summarily ended for no reason way early in the meeting. Staff deserves better than that. The public deserves better than that. And we got to end this mean girl gossip stuff that you all got going on between each other in the news. One of you in particular is rather prevalent in publishing gossip about other people and other board members. It's not helping this district accomplish its goals, and it's not doing the public any good. I would just expect that you would all treat each other equally. If an absence is a problem for one commissioner, then an absence is a problem for the commissioner who's got a problem with it, including hers. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we are on to item 2, which is commissioner comments. Commissioner Redden had a comment. Please. Thank you.
Would someone like to go first?
I can go first if you like.
Okay. I was just finishing up. some
Okay.
notes.
Well, I was going to say this for later, but maybe I should just, because Mr. Ullum made a comment about an article I haven't read, committee members or the commission members attending meetings. This is something we asked staff to produce a while back ago, and I have before me anticipating this. And just to give you a sense, some numbers to the story. To date, 2019, just committee meetings, not the board meetings, but just talking about committee meetings. Commissioner Mateusz attended 0. Commissioner Crawley attended 2. Commissioner Ryring 4. Commissioner Brennan 10. And myself, I attended 12 committee meetings, just to put some numbers on this. So, on the subject of committees, I like to say that just in this year in review, started off very well. We had committees accomplished a lot. Our wildlife protection and our climate change resiliency meeting were recognized by the county and by the nonprofits as doing groundbreaking work for a district like this. You know, we have now introduced climate change into the language of the county as far as the coast side is concerned. When the Board
Supervisors has meetings about climate change. They point to the work that this district has done. It's not just the commission, but staff has done with respect to climate change resiliency and what our plans are for it. I really look forward to doing more in the future. And with wildlife protection, same thing. This is a great time for us to go out and look at migratory birds, marine mammals. We've done a lot of work, and we have a lot more to do with respect to protecting them. I'm very proud of the work that this commission has done in that respect. Also, some of the other key factors or key projects that we did that I'm proud of is the West Trail repair. Early on in the commission's lifetime, we were going to put a bunch of rock at the West Trail and just fill it with dirt. And now we're doing a project with Environmental Science Associates. And that project will be a milestone in sea level rise resiliency and protection. It's a project that we should all be proud of because it's the way the universe is going with respect to climate change, and you're going to see it happen here at Pillar Point. And hopefully it will lead next year to discussions about how we're going to manage sand and shoreline protection in the harbor. Let me go down a little bit. So there's plenty of other things like the launch ramp was dredged. We've made progress on surface beach sand replenishment. And we did as committees, we had members of the public as members of our committee doing excellent work, in my opinion, for I guess it was maybe 6 months worth of work before we had a little bit of leadership change. And we worked on policies going from expense and accounting expenditures, San Mateo County Harbor Code of Ethics and Values, board meeting agenda policies, district council policies. There were two that I was very involved in, and also very proud of the work that staff, our legal counsel at the time, and our public did with us, and those were the district council, general counsel policy, and the sexual and unlawful harassment policy. Unfortunately, all of those were tabled earlier this year, and they haven't moved forward. So I'm hoping that next year, my fellow commissioners will bring it back, and we'll actually spend some time on these progressive policies. That's it. Thank you.
I'd like to let everyone know or remind them, commercial crab season opened. It's been a terrific opener so far. On the first few days, people were able to get out. People came in with very healthy loads. There's a lot of people that are really looking forward to some good paychecks coming up. The crab are abundant right now, and the fishing's been safe. I have not heard of any accidents yet. So everyone should start feeling real good about our commercial fishermen and the direction that that's taken on the opener.
Sabrina?
Yeah, I'm going to try to go fast here. So I want to give a little rundown, since it's the end of the year, on things that I've been working on this year, some of the things that I'm most proud of as accomplishments for the district. So I'll start with the personal items, and then I'll work to the district, and then I've got one other thing. So on Sunday, February 2019, my legislative advocacy work was included in the New York Times Magazine. The article titled "The Fight for Gender Equality in One of the Most Dangerous Sports on Earth" by Daniel Duane. This article made the front cover of the magazine, and I was very honored to be included in it. On June 3rd, 2019, Assembly Bill 467 was amended to include equal pay for professional cycling, as well as surfing and other sports that hold competitions on state lands. After many meetings, letters, and phone calls, AB 467 was amended to include streets and roadways. After 3 months lobbying, I was able to get Caltrans get Caltrans included along with the Coastal Commission, State Lands Commission, and State Parks. This was a win for women in cycling who had been forgotten in the original legislation. On September 9th, 2019, Assembly Bill 467 was signed into law by the governor, and it is law now. On August 17, 2019, I received the 2019 Social Advocate Award at the Evolve Summit in Los Angeles for my legislative advocacy on behalf of the Committee for Equity in Women's Surfing. On August 24th, 2019, I represented the Committee for Equity in Women's Surfing as the keynote speaker at the California Democratic Party Women's Caucus. Additionally, in 2019, my speaking engagements included the San Jose Women's March and Reed Smith's Limitless International Women's Day panel. A few 2019 Harbor District highlights. Half Moon Bay Safety Summit was held on October 24, 26, and 27. We were fortunate to have a combined effort with the Harbor Patrol and other emergency response agencies, as well as the Big Wave Risk Assessment Group, and we had a really phenomenal training. The Thursday, October 24th, was a training specifically for emergency responders and did not include the public. On the 26th and the 27th, we had mostly public, but we also had emergency responders, including Harbor Patrol, at the two-day training. It was a huge success. We had a waiting list. A lot of people wanted to do it. A lot of people didn't get in, and I really hope that it's something that we do going forward, and it is the thing that, having served here now, going on to the last year of my second term, that I am the most proud of since I've been a commissioner. So I'm just really thankful that we got it done and that we had such wonderful support from the Harbor Patrol. It was a real team effort to pull it off, and John Moran worked really hard to make it happen as well. We also purchased a lot for an administrative building and received architectural proposals. We've yet to review, but that happened. We did RFP for Surfers Beach Restroom, which would include showers for surfers and a recycling facility, including ADA parking, EV parking, parking for vans for surf schools, and then also we've made progress on West Shoreline Trail erosion mitigation and shoreline restoration. That project is in the works, and we've got a really great team working on it. We made progress on sand replenishment goals. We also launched social media across multiple platforms and have been maintaining content in English and Spanish, and we hired a new person that is helping with contributing to social media content. We approved the policy portion of the 2019 strategic plan this evening. So that concludes my highlights for the Harbor District, and then the last thing I wanted to say is just that the San Francisco Bay Regional Water Quality Control Board has been contacted regarding some significant concerns about a construction proposal that's in the works for the city of South San Francisco. That plan is to raise the landslide elevation on their property. And I'll just end by saying that instead of a plan to fix the problem, it's actually a plan that makes the problem worse. And so that's really going to, there's a lot I could say on that. I've run out of time, but that's something that's going to need to get looked at. Thank you.
So I have a few comments. One, Jim Pruitt and I were talking about the Lighted Boat Festival, which unfortunately was canceled this year because of crab season, which is a good thing, I think, right? But not the cancellation. So I know that some of our business tenants were disappointed, so I know that Jim's working on trying to get something more regularly scheduled, and so we're looking forward to that. I also want to do a quick year in review because a lot of things happened in the last quarter of the year, and things that we were supposed to do, things that a board should be doing, which includes hiring a general manager, was something that we accomplished at the end of a quarter, or the end of the year, the last quarter. So I want to thank Commissioners Ryring and Matoush for carrying the ball to the very end, the finish line, including all the commissioners, some of whom did not attend the meetings or the interviews. So I'm just glad that all of us thought that Jim Pruitt was the best choice for the Harbor District, and I think the public will be very happy with that decision. We had, as you know, we had a leadership change in the middle of the year. That was one of the goals that I, as the president, wanted to accomplish, to hire a new general manager, hire a new general counsel. So we have hired Tricia Ortiz from RWG Law. They have represented us very well for our DMVH claim, which was publicized in August. And I want to thank Commissioners, Commissioners Lorenas and Ryder for, helping with that process too. So welcome aboard in that regard. The other thing that I was hoping that we would accomplish, and we accomplished tonight, was the approval of the 2019 strategic plan, which was a 2-year process, a labor of love. And so when Martin Roush, our consultant, was here, and he has done a great job, and he was very patient. But we got it done, and I think it's something that the board can be proud of, and it's something that the staff can move forward with. So we're looking forward to implementation by our wonderful staff, Julie, John, and Jim, and their staff as well. And finally, one thing that we must always remember is that Oyster Point Marina is part of the Harbor District, and we do have a JPA in place. So I'm very happy to report that we had our one and only joint liaison committee in South San Francisco last week. I think it was last week. Commissioner Riley and I are on that committee, and it was just a good first step to get to know, or for Commissioner Riley to get to know the South San Francisco City Council staff and the new committee members from the South San Francisco City Council. This year has been challenging. I think that a lot of credit goes to our very patient staff, especially our interim general manager at the time, John Warren. Thank you, John, for stepping up to the plate. And I actually want to thank Commissioners Mateo and Ryder for being there, trying to be at every meeting possible when we needed to have the meetings to move forward with our general manager hire. And for example, that's the one big thing that a governing board must do, is to hire the chief executive. And I think that we are on the track to stability. I welcome all of the new employees. I think that it's going to be an exciting time as we move forward. So welcome aboard, and thank you to the staff for the great work that you've done, especially in the last quarter of the year. So that being said, committee updates, climate change resilience.
I think I covered it in my commissioner's statement, both the climate change resilience committee and our committee on the water protection. Looking forward to doing some work in January.
President Kelly, I'm sorry. Can you back up to commissioner comments, because we have this new item allowing for commissioners to be able to report out.
Sorry. This is, okay, Commissioner Brennan to report out from the meeting, right? Sorry. Yeah. You want to do your report?
Report out of what?
From a meeting with the first partner, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, and Controller Betty T. Yee with the White House Consulting, August 2019.
I mean, that was August. What do you want to know about it?
Well, we paid the expense, and so I think under our policies and procedures, reporting out is part of that.
It was a very successful meeting. The first partner is lovely, and her staff is wonderful. It was a very productive meeting, and we discussed 8467. We discussed a recent, I don't even know how to describe it exactly, roundtable sort of thing that happened with the first partner and women in professional surfing. And we discussed the governor's support for equal pay
I mentioned earlier, we had our one and only committee meeting of the year last week, and I thought it was a good meeting, a good introduction meeting, and highlighted the shared values of providing public transportation and making our ferry service more robust. And we're looking forward to working with the South San Francisco City Council, and welcome to South San Francisco, Pam and Stripe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add on that, for that, Lindsay?
No, I enjoyed being part of that meeting and meeting the officials in South San Francisco and learning a little bit more about the proposed new ferry service.
Okay, social media, public outreach, that was,
We haven't met, but Joe Falcone has been sending updates regularly, and he is on the agenda tonight to discuss Fondini.
okay, the ad hoc committees, strategic plan, really who's basically finalizing the strategic plan tonight. We're very happy with that. Office design, Nancy and Tom.
Oh, we
I
haven't
think
had
that
a
was
meeting.
just, I think we
Yeah.
just, did that. The RV lot and the CDP.
We did have our first meeting, and we're moving along, the documents, details. So that's in process. We're looking forward to bringing more transparency and clarity to the Harbor District.
Well, we also, can I add a little bit?
Yeah, please.
We also received, what is it, three proposals? Three proposals from the design firms, and we made the decision to offer to the board and the public, or not the public, but the board, to meet with the consultants and with the rest of the committee members to evaluate which, and make a decision on which of the firms to hire. So it'll be an opportunity for the other board members to weigh in if they like.
Thank you. And the Schultz claim, I don't really know how much we can say. Part of it's, this is gonna be a closed session item. It is the ADA claim, so, I can only report that it's on a closed session. I do have a public comment for this item, but with no name.
No, sorry, you gotta go fast, you're gonna go pretty quick, like where you run the meetings. Okay, this is about the ad hoc committees. Last night I was at the Half Moon Bay City Council meeting. Some really good news was presented to me by Jill Eckes, who's in charge of the project, that we're talking about the restrooms at Surfers Beach. Apparently funding has been attained. So the Harbor District is on the plan, and the city's on the plan, Mr. Neeren is on the plan, and there's money to pay for it. And after 20, 25 years, or whatever it's been, there are going to be restrooms at the harbor, or at the Surfers Beach again. And they're gonna be substantially better than what the public had available to them, what was it, 20 years ago. One of the things that Ms. Eckes pointed out is she mentioned you, Mr. Wren, she mentioned your staff. She said this was a very difficult project. There was a lot of moving pieces involved, that this thing was a lot of bad decisions that were made before any of us had a clue about the Harbor District. And your staff cleaned up the mess along with the city of Half Moon Bay. They also mentioned you, Mr. Landis, and Ms. Brennan, that the two of you had participated in the process, and that it was your idea. They acknowledged that really got the ball rolling when we got off the ideas of some simple little bathroom fix, and we started talking about a real facility that would serve the whole community, including the disabled. And I know it means a lot to the surfers to have a shower up there when they get done with their sessions. But there is one person who has not gotten any credit for this, and that's Mr. Matoush. Tom Matoush is the person who came forward back in 2015 and informed me that there were real problems with the lease with the RV lot. And there was a series of emails and a couple of phone calls. Mr. Matoush asked me to look into it. I filed some PRA requests and discovered that there was no CDP, and which is basically the leverage that has been used to get everybody to come together and solve this problem. Without Mr. Matoush's help, I wouldn't have gone down that road, would not have found out about that CDP. And in truth, Ms. Bertucci deserves the most credit for what happened, because even though this was all discovered, that there was no CDP, and that the lease was being seriously violated, it was just badly done, the whole thing. Nobody was gonna do anything about it. I thought the Harbor Commission would get upset about it, they didn't. And I thought the Coastal Commission would do something about it, and they wouldn't. And I thought the city of Half Moon Bay would take a stand, and they didn't. So what it required was some effort, some encouragement from Mr. Bertucci, and I did file a complaint with the city of Half Moon Bay regarding the lack of a CDP. And that is why we are here today with the good news that we're going to finally resolve the issue that's been pending now for 20 years. I know Mr. Bertucci does not want to take credit for this, but he definitely deserves his share of this. Thank you.
Tom has one comment too. Do you want to add to?
I just want to look at Harbor Master Tibby, Owen, and Duke and say, it's all right to leave. But I didn't see you sitting there so formally that, when is this going to end? So anyways, it's okay. We appreciate your being here. I'm glad you're learning about how the Harbor District operates. But you can introduce, you're not obligated to stay.
We appreciate
But
that,
you're
Commissioner.
welcome.
We do have, Owen is actually on duty right now. We do have a pretty active harbor down there, so it would be welcomed if we could
Absolutely.
get back at it and go help the.
Go do your reading.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good job.
Okay, so now we're on item D for the consent, and I know that Commissioner Brennan wanted to pull off item number 1, which is bills and claims. Are there any other items that anyone wants to pull off? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar, X item 1?
I move that we approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Please roll call, please, Debbie.
President Chiarelli,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryder,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan.
Aye.
Great, that motion carries. And so we are now at the discussion section of the agenda, and I usually like to get business done first, so I would like to put the consent item that was pulled off, agenda item number 1. I have that discussion right now. So Serena, you pulled it off. Is there anything you wanted to say?
Yes, since this is the end of the year, this is our last meeting of the year, I wanted to highlight page 1-5, so it's page 5 of this item, which is our legal fees, fiscal years 2011 through 2019. And so what we have here is a spreadsheet which breaks down legal fees by law firm and by year, and it's quite interesting to follow. I know that we haven't received all of our billing yet for this year, but this year the costs so far for legal fees are where they were. In fact, they're under where they were back in 2011. They're less than where we were in 2011. Last year's legal fees were almost $500,000. This year, we're at 78,000 or around 79,000. So I just wanted to remark at what an extraordinary difference that is, and how wonderful it is that we're going to be able to use that money that we saved this year in 2019 on actual projects that matter to the public. So I just wanted to point out that achievement. That's it.
I have a comment to make regarding the legal fees as well. We changed attorneys during the year because our last legal counsel resigned, and which was a shame. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Parkin, who had a very difficult last few months at the time he was here, and we appreciate his help. I know that Ogletree, Deacon, Nash, and Smoke, they spent a lot of time with the governance and policy committees, at the committee meeting, for policies that, quite frankly, were not really vetted by the board and would just continue to move forward. So I'm gonna say I was a little disappointed that the board was kind of left behind. So with that, I will move to approve
Excuse
this.
me.
I have a comment.
Sure, I'm happy to open up the
That was
comments.
a motion, and a second.
Okay, but we can discuss.
Yeah, now that we've got a second.
Okay, well, since you brought it up, what we're talking about are two firms, actually.
Well, okay, go on, because we're talking about legal bills.
We are indeed.
Perfect, not the substance. This is a consent item to approve the bills of claims, not to talk about the policies.
Well, you just did.
I talked about the bill. I talked about the legal bill and I was concerned about the cost for something that the full board was not involved with.
You just talked about committees.
I talked about this
Just point it
particular
out.
item. No, that's your opinion, but please go ahead, Commissioner Morales.
Thank you. So with respect to Ogletree and also Kachet, let me go to Kachet first. We had some, I won't go into the details of this, but we had some, shall we say, difficult issues with some of our tenants, and we brought in Kachet, Pietri, and McCarthy from the same firm that sued Vinod Khosla and prevailed up to the U.S. Supreme Court, so they are highly respected for their work. And we brought them in because we knew we had some significant issues with our tenants, and they charged us a minimum fee because, number one, Kachet, the primary in the firm, has a very strong fondness for the coast side, and because they serve the public. This firm said to us that we are a public agency and therefore we should not be charged the normal rate for them. That's one of the places where we saved quite a bit of money and got a lot of work, and in the realm of transparency, I have no idea where we are with that firm at this point. Hopefully we'll find out at some point. And then with respect to the work that Ogletree has done with the committees, I mentioned in my commissioner comments, that was one of the firms that did a stellar job for us. And when we're talking about a firm like this charging us a lot of money, I'd like to remind the board and maybe some members of the public who may or may not have been at these meetings, but their principal drove from I think Sacramento to our Harbor District meetings only to sit in the audience through the portion of the meeting and then have our board close the meeting prematurely and walk out. So complaining about the cost of these firms and complaining about lack of transparency is incredibly disingenuous. Thank you.
Sabrina?
Oh, gosh, there's so much that could be said, but I do agree with Ed, and, we could kibitz about this, that, or the other thing related to lawyers, but at the end of the day, I think we should be really thankful that our legal fees are so extraordinarily low this year, and I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, and I hope that we can maintain that going forward.
Great. Tom?
No comment.
Okay, great. I am going to make one last comment and then call for the question. These legal fees, I understand, are lower, and they were incurred for very specific purposes that did not, in my opinion, meet the goals of the Harbor District as a whole. So with that, I'll call for the question. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
President Shankarelli,
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan,
Aye.
Commissioner Riley.
Aye.
The motion carries. Now we'll move on to discussion item number 7, which is Pillar Point Harbor H-Dock replacement and Johnson Pier Terminus expansion project update. John?
There's a recommendation that the board to receive an update presentation from design engineering consultant Moffatt and Nichol on the Pillar Point Harbor H-dock replacement and Johnson Pier Terminus expansion project. The existing 32-year-old H-dock provides approximately 50 slips for commercial fishing and recreational vessels and is a vital component of Pillar Point Harbor. Due to ongoing deterioration, H-dock was assessed in 2014 to have exceeded its service life and was determined in need of replacement. A work directive was initiated with design engineering consultant Moffatt and Nichol, who has already discussed with the California Coastal Commission a programmatic approach in developing an overall new harbor dock layout, replacing all of the docks. The new proposed harbor dock layout plan will ensure ADA access throughout the docks and will reconfigure the fuel dock to allow for widening of the Johnson Pier terminus to better accommodate the commercial fish buyers' needs. This time I'd like to introduce Brad Porter from Moffatt and Nichol, who's one of the lead engineers that's helping us with this very large project and has helped the district with multiple other projects, including the removal of Romeo Pier. Brad was out on Johnson Pier with me today. It was lightly raining, and then decided to come down very hard. His pants, as mine, are still drying.
Pants are dry. Yeah, it was coming in pretty good there. But, who would have thought in December it would rain? Yeah, there was one slide I had updated, the layout, but just, so it's kind of an update on what we've done since on the project since last March when we last presented this to you. And just sort of the objectives were there on the right. I won't read them all, but there's a graphic that we'll have later on. But it's just kind of the project components, the fuel dock replacement, the H-dock replacement, and then, of course, Johnson Pier, which is kind of the main focus of here. This should advance it?
I should,
Is there a page down? There we go, okay. So here's kind of a summary of what we've done, and so this is just this year in 2019. So back, reading the top of the project procurement, we're calling it. So back in March, we had given the presentation here, and we got immediate authorization to commence work, and here we are again in December. One of the first things we did was this hoist operation study. As you know, there was one of the fish buyers installed a new hoist there on the south side, kind of in that narrow portion. And we were engaged to kind of look at the hoist and kind of offer an opinion as to the best use of that space and safety and such. And as part of that, what we did is we went and we visited other facilities I'll talk more about later in Northern California to kind of see what they're done. And then kind of look at the layout, maybe what could be best done to accommodate all and safety and so forth.
Is that study that you did attached here? Do we have that?
To this presentation?
Well, it just seems like, since that's what you guys have been working on, do we have that attached?
No, we did not attach that. It's
Could we get that?
yes,
Okay, so the commission will get that.
yeah, I can shoot it to everybody.
Okay.
So yeah, we prepared a draft report and we've submitted that for review. And one of the things as part of when we interviewed the fish buyers, that was one of the first things we did, to kind of talk about how they operate, just understand how they operate and the timing and some of their concerns and things. Because that also informs the larger project of the improvements to the pier as to what the stakeholders would like to see and what their needs are. But one of the things was we wanted to observe the operations there during their busiest time, which was crab season, and that was today. We were gonna come back here this was scheduled to open, was it last week of November? And that didn't happen, so we've been in touch with, and so we were out there today. I thought it'd be good to observe it. So that was something that we did today, and it was quite informative. It was good to do that. Another project is the timber piles underneath the timber portion of Johnson Pier, the existing, there's a couple piles there that are just really critical. They're totally severed and they're underneath refrigeration units that are fairly heavy. So we designed that, we got the permitting for it, of course, that took 4 or 5 months to get. And now it's been bid, and I believe it's gonna be awarded to DRS Construction to repair those 2 piles to allow that. Before the final fix, the widening gets done, we have to support the existing piers to continue, the operations of fish buyers. So that was that. And the conceptual design, we're doing the conceptual design for the widening of the pier. And kind of we've been reviewing the original drawings, the original Earl and Wright drawings when Johnson Pier was first designed in 1961. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but sort of how we tie into that pier, or whether we tie into it for seismic reasons is kind of a big part of the design, whether it's you integrate it into the existing structure or you make it a separate structure, and it has to do with its movement during a seismic event. And say stakeholder outreach, mainly the fish buyers and others. We kind of had, as part of the hoist study, we had some initial outreach, but it would be good to kind of confirm that, I think, before we get too much further along, and of course, your input on that as well.
Have the fishermen and the fish buyers seen that, you said it was a draft study on the use of the pier?
I don't know if you've seen that or not.
The operations plan is still in draft form. It's not been finalized. Again, we were out there again today. We can provide it to the board, but it's not a not a completed document yet.
Would it be possible, John, to run it by the people who use that facility, meaning anyone that's offloading fish or runs a business, a fish buying business there, before it's completely finalized, so that we get input on the draft?
Yeah, and regretfully, we're also involved in litigation out there. So
I just wouldn't want to finalize anything without getting stakeholder input. That's what worries me.
It's going to quite likely. I don't want to speak too much to how the litigation is going to pursue, but we do have our general counsel assisting us in working through that challenge. And then, as far as the operations plan or the draft operations plan or any available, when input will be allowed, in a negotiation process or arbitration process, that'll be probably up to the legal counsel.
Well, I get that, and I don't know what's going on with that, but I do think that not only the fish buyers should give input, but there should be public input too, because it's
Nothing will be finalized
Yeah.
until we have fish buyer input, tenant input, and public input. That's for sure.
That's right. Thank you.
Guarantee that.
Okay, so yeah, that's stakeholder outreach is sort of ongoing. And yes, including that in the final report will be part of it, certainly. The Harbor District has engaged California Consulting. We've been working with them to develop, they'll present later on kind of an overall project schedule. And I think part of the purpose of that is to attract perhaps grant funding or seek funding sources. We've been engaging with California Consulting and developing the project schedule. We're developing kind of the basis of design, that will kind of guide the design going forward, and we're now doing our initial structural layouts that I'll show a bit more about later. So here's the operation study that we had done. What we're looking at here is in the upper right-hand corner, of course, that's the new hoist that was installed. That's number 5, we're calling it there. That's the 3 captains hoist. So what we did is we visited, this is a map of Northern California. I know you can't read the text, but we looked at Citizens Dock in Crescent City. We looked at their layout, spoke with their harbor staff. We went to Noyo Harbor and visited a number of facilities there. Point Arena, fish landing site in Northern California with an open pier. We looked at a couple of facilities in Bodega Bay. There was 3 fish buying facilities in Bodega Bay. Also, we looked at the Fisherman's Wharf, the commercial, the huge complex down there where there were, I think, probably a lot of fish from here go before it gets further distributed. And of course, Pillar Point, we went out and looked at the pier, then spoke with each of the buyers, and we examined in Santa Cruz Yacht Harbor, the fish buying facility there, Moss Landing, the three fish facilities there, and also at Municipal Wharf in Monterey. And we just kind of, was to get an idea of what other facilities had, and the one thing that sort of stood out that's somewhat unique about, most of these facilities, it's one buyer that has their own facility, so they totally control the operation. Whereas here, you have three buyers, and that's a little unusual, although Crescent City is Citizens Dock, they have 6 buyers out there at the end of theirs, so that's maybe the most similar to Johnson Pier, and then also Monterey has multiple fish buyers there, but they're kind of in a linear fashion where they all have a separate loading area at their back, and then the trucks load on the other side, so there's not a whole lot of cross-mingling like there is on Johnson Pier. But, and this is the, after we weighed all this, kind of what we came up with was that what was critical, is this a laser? Or I can just probably point to it as easily, but what we felt was the cross traffic, with the trucks pull in right here, like today, there was like 3 trucks, and so you have just a really tight squeeze here with the forklifts going back and forth. And like when the trucks are here, there's only room really for one forklift. And comparing I think the original layout or the intent at Johnson Pier in the lease agreements, looking at the other facilities, that having a 15-foot wide clear path for the forklifts to move, we feel is essential. That
I'm sorry, say that again, how many feet?
15 feet. That's pretty much what we observed at the other facilities, particularly Citizens Dock. That's about the width they have. And that's kind of what it takes for 2 forklifts when they're running, back and forth between the trucks. And that's about what was shown on the original lease diagrams as the clear area. And so to achieve that, that's going to limit in the current configuration the amount of storage that can occur on both sides. So that's what we came up with as our recommendation for.
Because I can't, is there a way you can enlarge that so we can see where the 15 feet is?
Oh,
I
maybe,
can't see it on there.
yeah.
The pointer is working, by the way. I don't know if that helps you at all.
It's kind of small, maybe we can enlarge that section.
I think the magnify 125%.
Well, when it's in full screen mode, I don't, okay, let's see, what are my choices here?
Right click on the desktop, change the resolution.
Well, I know, okay, this one's a little different than mine, all right.
Do you want me to turn the lights on so you can look at your copies?
Zoom?
Yeah.
Let's do zoom 200%.
Yeah, do you want the lights on to
I
see
just
the
don't-
three copies, or?
Is it doing, it's not doing it on the, oh, it's just doing it on this one. Okay, I don't know if you can see, there's right here, the white, that's the travel way, that's the 15 feet right there, is the width of that white box. And then it's between, there's this dashed line, the 15 feet is this line here, so it's between my thumbs. So that's the 15 feet there.
So how are you gonna get that when the hoist goes over that area? The swing of the hoist goes over that area.
However, we talk about it a bit about that in the report. However, whatever, and then there's a number of different ways that you could do it. And I will try to answer that question, but we believe that having a 15-foot clear travel way, however it needs to be achieved, is critical.
Are you
So
sure?
can I ask, how much more of this presentation do you have? Because I would like to hear the whole thing. And I believe we have a policy in place where each commissioner can comment for 2 minutes. So I'm not, are you, because it's very distracting to me to have the presentation broken up in this way without hearing the whole thing that you want to do.
Okay. This is a critical question
Well, you know
Sure.
what? I would like to hear the whole thing.
We can
so
come
that
back
we-
to this,
Thank
that's
you.
fine, we can just come back to the
And
slide when you're
Debbie,
done.
we do have the timer for 2 minutes, correct or not?
I
That was a
can
policy
pull
that was
that up.
put in place earlier this year, because I just want to be
It doesn't
respectful
mean-
of the time.
It doesn't mean you
So
only get
can you
2 minutes.
please,
Just
We have
move
the-
forward
with your
2
presentation?
minutes and then 2 minutes.
You're interrupting, you're out of order, Commissioner Brennan.
Just reminding you, because you're misinterpreting it.
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
It's
you
what's
are.
good for the goose is good for the gander. It's our policy that we adopt.
You rotate
Can you please
through board.
move forward with your presentation?
Okay, so this was the figure that was in our draft report as to what our recommendations are about the areas and, you know, one of the other things maybe I should point out was that we felt that having, some type of positive barrier here or signage to tell people to not go out here or no vehicles pass this point during operations, we felt was important.
And Brad, more importantly, regarding what we're talking about tonight, what he's demonstrating here is a concern to our commercial fish buyers. So we want to address that, and then let's talk about how we're addressing it by widening the pier.
Yeah, no, clearly the need is to have a wider pier out there. Like I was just saying, okay, now it wants me to work on this thing, that's the problem. Okay. Okay, so I guess now I'm on controlling this screen. All right. I also talked about the other project, which is replacing the 2 timber piles, and here's the, so here is Johnson Pier, and this is the timber infill part, so this little white part right here, and it's these 2 piles right here that are, these 2 piles at low tide, as you can see, they're totally severed. There's about a 4-foot gap where there's no pile at all, so it's like these piles are not even there. And they're sitting right underneath refrigerators, there's the 2 piles underneath. And this was the repair system we came up with. It has recently been bid and will be awarded, so they'll restore full load-bearing capacity to those piles by putting a jack in it, taking up the load, jacketing it, and then filling it. And I think that work should be probably completed here within a couple of months.
So the concrete grout that makes it stronger than a wooden piling would normally even be.
So last March, this is what we presented, and the idea was the trucks, could pull in here, pull in forward, back up back to here, and then go all the way out, or even back up to the buildings. When we were talking to the fish buyers earlier, they didn't really feel that there was so much of a need to do that. So we refined this somewhat. I did also want to talk with some of the truckers to see their view on it. I did speak with a couple today, and in fact, they said, yeah, backing it up onto the pier wasn't that big of a problem. It would be nice to be able to turn around and go out. But another benefit of them pulling in forward here is that then they can just come and load right here. And so you don't have the, like here, there's a lot of cross mixing, whereas if the 3 of them were here, there'd be less conflict in loading. Or another possibility that's just occurred to me today is that you could have like 1 or 2 trucks here and 1 here, and you could load all 3, and the forklifts would be branching out, and again, you wouldn't have the crossing. So we revised this layout somewhat so that, and really looked at it here, that you could really only get 2 trucks here, and they wouldn't have to back all the way up to the building. One of the concerns the fish buyers had is they just wanted they want as much open space as they could get. And so that when they saw this with the trucks backing up all the way there, they said, well, no, we'd rather just have this whole thing open so they can have their operations go without the trucks backing up. So we've limited it somewhat. We've looked at, you could block off this 100 feet here. The trucks could still pull in, back out, and go out and leave this entire area clear for operations. So we've looked a little bit closer at the actual truck maneuverability out there. And this is sort of the current layout that we're looking at. And then you would have additional, really, for this truck to be able to back up, it's got a swing wide, this path here is the path that the truck cab takes before it backs up. So the truck really couldn't be here, but these two areas could be used for storage or perhaps even another hoist right here, which might be a better location.
Have they seen this latest drawing?
No,
Okay.
no one has seen that other than now, ourselves. Neil here was the one that ran, Neil Nichols is engineer that I work with. Neil developed it after we met with fish buyers, and you're the first ones to see it since. We started the preliminary analysis. These are the original drawings, kind of our original hand sketches. This was the slide that I had put in. We're starting to do the initial layouts of what the framing would look like. And the beams, I think, on the previous slide, I had some, yeah. So some of the important things are, like I was mentioning, tying into the existing pier, or doing what we call a seismic joint, which is what we presented before. The concern with that is, see, Johnson Pier was built in 1961. If we were to analyze it by current code, it probably wouldn't pass. So the question is, do you need to retrofit it or not? Well, we may be able to, if we were to tie into it, we would then definitely have to retrofit it, or we would have to take the amount that it wants to move in the earthquake, we would have to kind of stiffen it up and absorb all that energy. And that may or may not be feasible. That's the analysis we're performing right now. Can we stiffen it up enough? Or if you can, then what you can do is put in what's called a seismic joint. So you don't tie the two structures together. You leave a gap of somewhere between 6 inches and a foot, so that during the earthquake, the two structures can act independently in movement, but they don't hit each other. Like if you ever, a lot of buildings you go to and you'll see like an aluminum plate, maybe 6 inches a foot wide, that's what that is. It's covering that seismic joint. The ferry plaza in San Francisco, around the ferry building, has that very thing. But that's one of the very things that we're analyzing. And what we have to look at is we would have to create a similar stiffness in the two elements, just so that they both kind of act about the same in a seismic event. But that's the analysis we're doing. And we've kind of come up with a preliminary pile sizing of 18 to 24 inches. Your existing piles are 16 inches, so the new piles are going to have to be somewhat bigger, but that's just sort of the state of affairs and then I think the next one is H-dock, but this was the kind of the layout for the fuel dock replacement. And with that, Neil Nichols here, who say he's engineer with Moff Nickel, who's been really the primary engineer on the H-dock fuel dock replacement. But
You want to jump into the H-dock?
Yeah, you want to jump into the H-dock?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it won't take long. We submitted the 95%, I think it was in March of this year. And there weren't that many comments after the 95%. I think we had a few that we wanted to address and just resubmit another, like an updated 95% rather than do 100%, because at that point it's kind of done, ready for construction. So I think we're just going to resubmit 95% with some of the comments on it. We're minimal, and we've been kind of waiting to see how that ties into the bigger project, because this one will be done at the same time as Johnson Tier to get some economy of scale and only disrupt the whole site once. So nothing has changed in this layout. I think we just had some small details, John. I think that's all we have, are a few minor layout comments. I think we added ladders in every single berth, so as opposed to putting a few kind of spread out throughout
Yeah,
the site.
we had two public meetings with tenants and the public, anybody that wished to attend. We had quite a bit of input on both meetings and tweaked the layout accordingly.
Yeah. So the 95% is still available to look at, but we haven't changed anything significantly since it. And the same reason I didn't go ahead and finalize an updated cost estimate, because it'll be better to do it along with the bigger project, so we don't do it twice. It was basically a waste of effort now to do it for this project as it stands
in addition to the permitting process will all be together as well.
And the fuel dock, I think you mentioned the fuel dock, you know, we're showing it there, kind of dovetailing with the extension of the previous slide, right? You know, kind of going outward instead of having an L shape because of that extension to the south. So, if we do that extension, that's what we do for the fuel dock. If it goes in a different direction, then we can revisit just replacing it with the old dock shape. So, some of this has to kind of wait until we get a better idea of what the extension will look like. If it's that shape, you know, 80 by 80 roughly, or some other shape, whether that's necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, so not much of an update right now.
And this is the schedule that we've been developing with California Consulting. This is sort of the path forward. And so the first part, kind of the project management, and they see really starting off in earnest in 2020, at least that's what their schedule had. Kind of design going for about a year and a half, and getting the permitting going. At item 1.20, we're allowing 5 quarters for permitting, which I think is actually fairly quick for, you know, a project of this size. And then construction, if assuming permitting, and the design would take about a year along with the permitting, and then construction could begin in 2 years, of course, if it's funded. And then the construction would take about a year for the various components. With the first part being the extension onto the pier, and then the last part being the H-dock replacement. These were just the costs. This is what we had presented last March, and I think for what we know now, they're as valid now as they were then. But that's sort of the order of magnitude that what we're looking at is around $7 to $9 million for Johnson Pier, and then the H-dock and fuel dock being another $3 to $5 million.
You didn't mention drainage. Would there be improvements so that drainage goes back into the sewer system?
Well, I think that right now your drainage off the pier deck just goes into the bay. I don't think it's collected, is it?
No, but I don't think that's legal, is it? By today's standards?
Neil and I had talked about, you know, some sort of rainwater recovery. So we're still looking into that.
You're correct, I believe, okay, we did Trinidad Pier, which is a commercial pier up in Humboldt County, and we did have to collect that. And I believe the driver there is, well, one, it's a new pier. Whether you have to retrofit an existing pier to collect, I don't believe so. I'm not certain of that. I don't believe for an existing pier you have to. But vehicles, we're doing a fishing pier now for the Port of Redwood City, just like you're going out. I think if there's no vehicles on it, you're not required to collect it. I think if there are vehicles on it, then you do have to collect it and treat it for a new pier.
Well, we have a lot of vehicles.
Yeah, we've got
Right.
we've got trucks, plus we've got fork trucks, and despite, you know, I've talked with Neil about this as well. Despite what's required, we would want to have some sort of capturing system. Again, Rebecca,
If they go back to it, I can still do it.
You know, this is gonna be a relatively, you know, small thing, can even be you know, a change order in design, but, we'll try to implement this in the design.
Yeah.
I've expressed to Brad and to Neil, we wanna move as fast as is possible to get this,
I can still get it.
construction project ongoing, so that our commercial fishing, fleet, you know, can get to work in a safe condition and have a wide pier, while of course having an emphasis on ensuring that we are completely environmentally sound, whether it's, you know, the bare minimum is required or not. We'll be looking at making significant improvements. There is already, you know, sewer going out there, sewer line, so it would be a challenge. It's just a matter of, you know, what is most efficient, what's allowed. Maybe that we have our own water treatment filtration system out there.
Okay. It'd just be nice to see that, maybe next time we see a presentation, included in the presentation, just so we know that's part of the
Yeah,
project.
regretfully, we're not as far along as we'd all like to be. We have brought on California Consulting, at what board's direction, to help us with identification of applicable grants, to help with costs. But the costs, I've made clear, the costs are not slowing the project down. We're trying to move forward as quickly as we can. We hope to have another update in the very near future. The board is going to have some more detail and better progress.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have some questions about the page that had the map of the existing facility. Will it end
Do you
in,
know what page that is?
That was the one we were talking about earlier.
maybe it does, 14, page 14. Operation study.
Oh, yeah, I can speak to your, I probably know a little bit more about this than. Then
One
Brad
reason I'm
does.
asking is because I got
Yeah.
a input from the public that the measurements were not right. And I wanted to
Yeah.
know if we double checked the measurements.
Understood. Again, this is just a draft document, but let me just say that, obviously, whenever there's litigation, the opposing parties try to spin things to their favor. Let me just say that. And what I've heard is that because, the district was, of course, required to allow, through the arbitrator's ruling, required to allow 3 captains to put a hoist in this location, which is now there. Some argue that in the hoist operation, if it swings completely perpendicular to the outside of the dock, it would then intrude upon the 15 feet gap that Brad was explaining that is currently in the draft plan. But if the hoist boom only goes 5 feet into the dock and has a stopper there, then it would only be able to put totes into the allotted area and not encroach upon into that 15 feet.
Well, what I heard was different than that. What I heard was that the actual measurements in the draft were not accurate. I heard-
Well, they have to be. They're done by CAD.
So can we,
Get ready to design, the.
well, I
the-
mean, I work with CAD drawings all the time, and sometimes there are mistakes, so it's probably accurate, who knows, but is
We can
there,
double check for you.
it would be awesome if we could denote some marks on the pier so that we could see where the 15, I'd like to be able to visually see, I think it'd be helpful for you guys too, to see where that 15-foot section is, so we can observe the traffic with the forklifts in the 15-foot section.
And Sabrina, as we would move forward with finalizing this plan and through the negotiations that occur because of the legal actions that's been taken, once a operations plan is determined, it would include painted lines so everyone is very aware of the areas they have to stay in so that they can all get along and everybody's compliant and we can enforce. Right now there is nothing painted on the ground at all. So we were out there today and as a commercial fishing fleet is working, they're not necessarily concerned with stacking things exactly right or keeping within the current parameters even. What we observed was considerably over into the 15-foot
Well, I
area.
know that happens, John, but it just would help me, I'm not saying that people aren't overlapping into the 15-foot area, I know there's constantly a lot of activity going on, so I know that happens. But I want to visually, on the pier, be able to see these measurements. I mean, I'll go out there with a tape measure myself, I've got a
Well, this
laser measurer thing.
Yeah, the drawings are to scale, but we could, be glad to go out with you anytime you want, or we could have a, special meeting.
Even if
to
it's
all
like a
go out.
temporary tape or something so that, because I just want to,
I would just say that it might be premature to lay out lines when we've not formalized what the district's position is gonna be as far as, what area or designated areas the commercial fishermen are gonna have.
It's not so much about designating who gets what, I just, for
Do you want
safety.
a measurement of the width? I
I
can
can
give you
s-
that tomorrow.
I can give it to you right now.
I'm
Yeah,
concerned
but she
about,
wants to have pictures, I guess.
I'm concerned
Well,
about
I
the
can
safety
give it a-
situation
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Right now. And if someone were to get hurt, and I've seen all this, like, I feel compelled to actually see how this is playing out in the real world. I know what Johnson Piers looks like. I've got a million videos of all the activity that goes on there, and it's very fun to watch. It's exciting, and it's also dangerous. So I would like to see some marks on the pier where that 15-foot area is, because I want to be able to, for myself, and I would think the public would too, I want to see if this 15-foot makes sense or not.
Sabrina,
And I don't-
just to be clear to the public and the rest of the commissioners and everybody, at present, there is no 15 feet. We've not yet,
But we can mark it,
but we've not yet designated where that 15 feet's gonna be. In
Wouldn't
order
it have to
do
go
s-
right down the center?
In order to do that, though, with the required installation of the new hoist, we're going to have to require the current fish buyers' tote storage areas to be relocated. And that's what we're trying to negotiate through those challenges now.
I realize that, I totally get that.
Because let me make it more clear. Where the fish buyers have historically been able to store their totes is now directly across from where the district has been ordered by an arbitrator to allow a hoist to go. So right now, we do not have the 15 feet.
Okay, John, I think we're not quite connecting. What I'm saying is, I would like to see marked on the pier, I can do this myself, you don't have to do anything.
I'm glad.
I would like to see marked on the pier where the 15-foot center is, because obviously it's gonna go down the center. I mean, it would go down the center, it would be 15 feet in the center, right?
If we were able to narrow the tote storage areas of our current allotted area that we've given to, by the lease, given to the current fish buyers, but that's not been agreed upon yet.
I don't care what's been agreed upon.
Okay.
I'm
Are
worried
you saying,
about
are you
public
thinking,
safety.
I know, but are you saying that there's not 15 feet at all?
I want to visually see what the 15-foot section looks like, that's all.
Understood, I get that.
So
I'll get that.
whatever the width of the, okay, how wide is the pier?
26 feet.
Okay, so we just go in from either side, so that we have the 15-foot strip down the section, and I just like to see where that is, that's it, that's all I'm asking.
But it can be
I get that,
anywhere
I
we
get
want
that,
it to be.
but right now, mainly, traffic is going down the center, because there's totes, whatever, now, and that changes every day. There might be more on one side one day, more on another day, I get all that, but generally speaking, like, I just like to see where that,
Understood.
what
Understood.
15-foot looks like
I'd be
on
glad
that pier.
to go out with you as well.
So I'd like to give
We can do
other
that.
commissioners
That'd be
a
helpful.
chance to ask questions or comment. Ed, did you have a comment or question? Okay, Tom? Oh,
Well,
yes.
nothing operates right down the center because there's plenty of totes against the far side, so the 15 feet is gonna be well off center. And to assume that anything else is gonna always be incorrect as long as there's totes anywhere on that pier.
I did make measurements today, and I could share those with you that might help to inform this discussion a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be
Well,
great.
What we're showing right now is we're showing it being 26 feet is the width of the pier. And what I'm talking about is the clear width, so you have like an 8-inch bull rail, I call it, out there. So I'm talking about, this is the width between the inside faces of the bull rail, which is what a forklift or anyone can travel. Okay. What we're showing right here is 15 feet, 8 inches. Excuse me, 25 feet, like 8 inches. We may be an inch or two off, but we're not off by a foot. So we're showing here 26 feet. I went out there today and I measured from bull rail to bull rail is 26 feet. So what I measured, the width of the hoist, so there's that railing that's out there, that's 40 inches. So that's 3 feet, 4 inches. So going from this edge, so the width of the hoist to that rail on the backside of it is 3 feet, 4 inches. then it's 12 feet from the back of the hoist to the first box. The boxes are stacked, they were about 3 deep today, and they're like 12 feet. So you've got 20, it's like 11 feet 8, your clear width was around 11 feet 8 is what you've got, which is what they were operating with today.
Did they have, because they usually have the storage, the tote storage on both sides. Was it on both sides today?
Not really, you know, there may have been a box here, but they weren't using this hoist today, they were using these two and this one and this one. This one was not being used, so there weren't many, the totes were down here because they were using that hoist. I don't think there was any totes here, but there's that back rail.
By the lease terms, the three fish buyers are allowed to store their totes along here only. Now, from time to time, out there as they're working, they may temporarily store totes here, but just 2 wide are what they've been allotted along here. But again, like today, they were 3 wide and not even stacked up a lot of the times because of the fish.
Okay.
Crab
One
season
last
being-
question and I'm done. So and I'll go out there and look at it myself, and it really helps to know that we got a 26-foot wide pier there. So with regard to the facilities visited, was this part of the, did we pay you guys to go to all of these different ports and take down notes, or what happened? I'm looking at this map off to the right. What's that about?
That was a separate project that after the district was ordered by the court arbitrator to install the 3 captains hoist on the south side of the pier, it was obvious to me that we were going to have to designate new tote storage areas. We were no longer going to allow all the 3 fish buyers to have tote storage here, as is in their lease at present. We were going to have to accommodate them elsewhere within the pier, and maybe even allow there to be some here, and maybe have Larry be able to store his totes over on this side, and allow the 15 feet to jog around. But again, how that was going to be determined is what we've hired Moffett and Nickel to come up with a draft plan for.
But I'm asking about the visits to all these harbors up and down the coast.
Yeah, part of what we asked them to do was be able to support whatever their recommendations for operations could be. And in support of that, they had to not only use their experience in building, Moffett Nickel's experience in building fishing piers, but also see how other fishing piers in the area operate, in order for us to be able to successfully argue how we're going to suggest a safe operations plan.
So, what happened with this? Did we send a team of people to all these places, or what, did we just call them and find out what the pier's like, or what data did we glean from this map here?
Well, what we did in the back of the report, there's, we were hired to come up with and provide recommendations for an operations plan for the end of the year, to kind of look at the existing facility and because it also helps inform the new design, what's needed, what's the space that's needed. As part of that, it was not in us developing our scope of work to develop that. We felt that visiting other fish facilities to see how others operate, because fish handling is a fairly unique operation. It's not like you can go in the OSHA guide and there's, fish handling facility requirements. So we felt that it was good to go to these other facilities and sort of see what the state of the practice is. So it was part of what we felt we needed to do to come up with a proper observation. So no, we went there, we visited, we spoke with many of the fish buyers where we could. Some of them we did measurements, but we took and we got, and in the back of our report there are scaled aerial photos, site plans of each of these facilities, so you can get an idea of the spatial layout of these, how big they are, how much room they've got, how big their travel way is, and it was to help inform an opinion about the best use of the.
In addition, Moffett Nickel did also meet with all 3 fish buyers. I was able to help coordinate that and spoke with and found out the needs of our 3 fish buyers as well and got their input in their draft plan that we've put together thus far.
Did we learn anything like having a traveling hoist or having, is there any takeaways from all of these many visits that are going to benefit us with the changes that are hopefully coming?
I think so, and I mean, what we saw uniformly across it was this travel way, is that was the one thing that was almost any facility, like I had mentioned, Crescent City Citizens Dock, and there's a photo of that, scale photo, and I spoke with the operations manager, he's the president of the association now. Anyway, the head of the Crescent City Harbor District, we spoke with them about how they operate and what they found, and many of the issues that we had, similar issues as we have out there. So we were just trying to learn, how they operate, what they have found works for them, and what's safe, and
Did anybody have hoists in a track? That's what I'm trying to find out. Did you find any hoists that are movable in a track and how that was working or not working? So that hoists are not in one location, they're not fixed, they can be moved depending on where the vessel is.
none are coming to me right off, I'm just trying to think, I'm just going down the coast. Crescent City, those are all fixed.
Is that something that we could look into?
I don't think so, and I think that would be really tough to do. I'm trying to think, because your overturning moment, unless you had a big gravity block, a big concrete block on the bottom, I don't know how you'd achieve that.
I know it's done,
Okay,
so
Where-
somebody's doing it, so maybe we could just check into it.
Sure.
We'll look into that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
so, I think that you've asked great questions and you've had great comments and a great presentation. And this is just informational, correct?
Yes.
There's nothing to go through, so I would like to, we're running out of time, like to move on to item 8.
Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Brad.
Item 8 is the final consideration of amendment to the San Mateo County Harbor District Ordinance Section 3.35.020, Marina Harbor Parking Ordinance. John?
All right, this is a motion to approve ordinance code amendment and execute the resolution to amend the district parking ordinance code section 3.35.020. The San Mateo County Harbor District currently allows all berthing tenants in good standing to receive parking permits for 2 vehicles. The parking permits are intended for the convenience of our berthing tenants to ensure they have ample parking as close to their slips as possible. Regretfully, we found that some berthing tenants are actually storing large commercial vehicles for off-site business use, and they're storing them at district facilities, claiming the large vehicles are the allowed personal vehicles allotted with the berthing rental, which is not the intent of the parking permits. This illicit use of parking spaces displaces those berthing tenants that are trying to park to access their vessels. The attached proposed parking ordinance amendment restricts this illicit use so that staff can better ensure parking is available for actual berthing tenant needs. At the November 2019 board meeting, the board approved noticing the proposed parking ordinance amendment pursuant to Harbors and Navigation Code Section 6070.2, which requires a minimum 20-day notice period for public review and comment on proposed ordinance code adoptions and revisions. Staff noticed the proposed amendment accordingly. Staff received no public comments to bring to the board's attention prior to this final consideration. Staff recommends the board approve the aforementioned motion.
Great, is there a motion to approve the ordinance code amendment?
I move to approve ordinance code amendment and execute the resolution to amend the district parking ordinance code section 3.35.020.
Second.
Any discussion? Any comments you want to make?
Like I said, when you made the motion, I think I very much appreciate you bringing this up because it is a problem. And not only are folks using it for business, like you say, but some folks are using it as an extended version of their boat or using
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
President Chancarelli,
Aye.
Commissioner Myrie,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Brand,
I'm looking to see what we're voting on.
Well, the motion carries.
Oh, the parking
Yeah,
ordinance?
yeah.
Yes.
Aye.
Perfect, the motion carries. We'll move to item 9, bid consideration, Pillar Point Harbor Master Office Alteration Project. John?
All right, this is a motion to authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with the sole bidder, CWS Construction Group, Inc., pursuant to an invitation for bid to make alterations to the Pillar Point Harbor Master's office, improving staff security, ADA compliance, public access, workflow, and efficiency of the building for an amount not to exceed $376,000, and establish a contract contingency in the amount of 10% of the contract amount for unanticipated additional expenses associated with the contract, and authorize the general manager to issue change orders up to the contingency amount. The Pillar Point Harbor office is located at the foot of Johnson Pier and is a rectangular 1,400 square foot building. The building is owned by the district and has housed the harbor front desk, servicing tenants, the local community, and tourists, providing public information, directions, and answering questions. This office also acts as the hub for search and rescue efforts and harbor patrol workstations. The current floor plan and front entry configuration is not ADA compliant, is not the best use of the square footage, and is not best suited for security concerns, and lacks open connectivity between workstations. The proposed new floor plan would move the public entry to the existing entrance, which is accessed only by stairs, to the other end of the building, and the construction is going to build a brand new ADA ramp to that new entrance. It also addresses identified ADA issues in restrooms, along with the entrance and exits and signage, and it creates a reception front desk closer to the new entrance door, controlling access and more secure employee workplace, and provides an interior with improved workflow and efficiency. After architectural design technical specifications were completed, staff publicized an invitation for bid in accordance with the California Public Contract Code. Despite significant publications, plan room notifications, and 5 firms attending the pre-bid conference, we received only one bid. The sole bid amount and bidding firm, CWS Construction, was vetted by district architectural design consultant and found to be qualified, responsible, and based on scope, reasonably priced. Therefore, staff recommends the board approve the aforementioned motion to enter into a contract with the sole bidder, CWS Construction.
Is there a motion to approve this agreement with the sole bidder, CWS Construction Group?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I'll open it up to discussion. Sabrina, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm glad that we're finally gonna do this project, and I think we've got people kind of on top of each other in the space that we currently have. Wish we'd gotten more than one bid, but, unfortunately, that's what happened. So I hope these guys are good, and I hope that you'll keep, close tabs on them. I know you will, John, and look forward to seeing it finished.
Nancy?
No comments?
No?
I think the best outcome for that building would have been to destroy it and start over, but this is a great thing for the Harbor District in the interim to become more compliant and come up to code and make things a little bit safer.
Ed?
Oh, I agree.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring,
Aye.
President Chancarelli,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz.
Aye.
That motion carries. So we're on to item 10, which is John Matthews Architects Construction Support Proposal Consideration for the Pillar Point Harbor Master Office Alteration Project. John?
Okay, Julie's just pointed out to me that we need to go back to that motion, and there's another line that I guess was not specifically mentioned, that the board needs to approve an increase in capital project appropriations of $413,600, which is the $367,000
Yes.
plus the 10% contract contingency.
So is there a motion to approve the amount not to exceed, the amount of $376,000 and not to exceed that, and to establish a contract contingency in the amount of 10% of the contract amount for unanticipated additional expenses associated with the contract? And also authorize the general manager to issue change orders up to contingency amount. So basically, you approve it up to $413,600.
So my understanding is that when you make a recommendation for motion, that it's all included when we make a motion. Do we need to read each motion to make sure that the wording of our motion is exactly as printed?
I'm not sure it has to be exactly as printed, as much as just that in this case to approve the increase in capital project appropriations because of the way that we're now doing it.
There are two things here. One is to approve the agreement with the sole bidder, and the other one is to increase the capital project appropriation of $413,000 from the $13,600. And that was my fault in not seeing that. So thank you for pointing that out, Julie. So yeah, because there's an appropriation involved. So, is there a second? Any discussion? Roll call, please, Debbie.
Commissioner Riley?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
President Shankarali?
Aye.
Commissioner Lennis?
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush?
Aye.
The motion carries. And now we'll go to item 10,
Okay.
which is the John Matthews Architects Construction Support Proposal Consideration. John?
All right, this is related to the aforementioned or the last item. This is a motion to authorize the general manager to enter into a professional services agreement with consultant John Matthews Architects for the construction administration and support phase of the Pillar Point Harbor Master's Office alterations project for an amount not to exceed $20,000 based on an hourly basis. And approve an increase in capital appropriations, capital project appropriations for $20,000. I've just explained the benefits of the Pillar Point Harbor Master's Office alterations project. John Matthews Architects, when they were hired for what was considered phase one, the architectural design and all of the necessary permitting and helping us put together technical specifications and the invitation to bid package. Now that we have awarded the contract, John Matthews on an hourly basis will help the district ensure that the winning bidder does all of the modifications and alterations to improvements to the harbor master's office in accordance with those technical specifications, and they're going to do so just on an hourly basis. What we want to do today is ask the board to approve an amount up to the $20,000, not to exceed $20,000.
Okay, is there a motion to authorize the general manager to enter into this professional service agreement with John Matthews Architects and to increase the capital project appropriations of $20,000, or not to exceed $20,000?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Makes sense.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Can I just ask for point of clarification? On the previous motion, we did it in 2 phases. Was this sufficient to say it in one? Okay.
Yeah, because the motion was to authorize the general manager into this professional services agreement and to approve the capital project appropriations of not to exceed $20,000.
Okay.
I read the whole thing in its entirety for you.
Okay. President Shankarali?
Aye.
Commissioner Bryan,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan.
Aye. That motion carries. Item 11, which is the Valentine Corporation change order consideration for the Pillow Point Harbor Fishing Pier rehabilitation project. John.
This is a motion to authorize the general manager to implement 2 change orders to the previously approved Pillar Point Harbor Fishing Pier Rehabilitation Project agreement with Valentine Corporation, increasing the construction cost by $88,681.56 and approve an increase in capital project appropriations by the same amount. The existing fishing pier is over 30 years old, provides fishing activities to the non-boating public, and is a vital component of the Pillar Point Harbor. The fishing pier was constructed over and adjacent to an existing riprap breakwater, which has sustained damage, prompting a repair project. In addition, the fishing pier walkway and terminus platform needed alteration for ADA compliance. The project invitation for bid, which was approved by our board for construction, was issued after the design engineering was completed and the invitation for bid was advertised. Bids were opened on July 10, 2019, and Valentine Corporation was subsequently found to be the lowest qualified bidder. On August 21st, 2019, the district board approved the $427,369 for actual construction. The design had planned for the existing timber decking to be reused if possible, simply flipped over, only the bad planks replaced. This was a cost-saving attempt by our design engineering that regretfully has not come to fruition. Valentine Corporation had begun construction and found that the timber decking is in poor condition, that very little could be reused, and even then may compromise the ADA compatibility, which was one of the driving factors for this project in the first place. Therefore, Valentine and district consultant suggest the entire timber decking be replaced with new. Valentine submitted the attached change order number 1 for $41,281.56 to cover the additional cost for complete timber deck replacement. We ensured that we were getting credit back for the costs related to them just flipping over the old timber, and it's actually a little easier, in fact, for them to not have to try to salvage the old timber and just replace all with new. So our consultant and myself are satisfied that this 41,000 figure is a fair figure to have the entire decking replaced with brand new 3x12 timbers. And we're then ensured that in fact the project is going to be ADA compliant when it's complete. The project technical specifications also call for an estimated 355 tons of riprap rock to be used to shore up the falling breakwater under the walkway to the fishing pier. After Valentine installed 90 tons of rock, their engineering team realized a total of 520 tons would actually be needed. District design engineering consultant concurs that the additional rock is necessary and had structured the invitation for bid technical specifications in such a way to allow for the uncertainty in the amount of rock that might be needed. The bid was required to list a unit cost in case additional rock was found to be needed. Valentine submitted attached change order number 2 for $47,400 to cover the additional cost of the riprap and associated additional grout that will be needed at the top of the riprap. So the 2 change orders will be an additional construction cost of $88,681.56. Staff recommends the board approve the aforementioned motion.
Is there a motion to authorize the general manager to implement the 2 change orders to the previously approved Pillow Point Harbor Fishing Pier rehabilitation project agreement with Valentine Corp. And increase the construction cost by $88,681.56? And that would increase the capital project appropriations by the same amount.
So moved.
Is there a second?
almost a 20% increase in their original bid, and I realize they were higher probably because of their bid. Just makes me wonder why they're so far off.
Well, largely well, to answer your first question, yes, we've worked with them before, and as has our consultant. But that doesn't play a huge role in our ensuring that, in fact, what any change orders that they're suggesting are legitimate. So, again, through our consultant's vetting, it was a decision, or it is a decision by our board. Do we want to stick by what the contractor bid on and simply flip over the boards as we had tried, and legitimately our consultant did want to give that a shot. And largely, of course, whenever we're putting out an invitation for bid, we want to ensure that all of the bidders are bidding on the same project. We could have put out for bid the replacement of all of those timbers, with brand new. And then they would have all been bidding on the same project. Then they would have been replacing all of them right away. We did give the opportunity for them to try to flip them over and see what they would look like, see what they would come apart, as they were spiked on for 30 years, if they would come apart in one piece and be able to be reused. It just did not come to fruition. So there is a substantial cost associated with that. Likewise, when Moffett and Nickel tried looking at the amount of rock that they estimated could be needed, they determined that it would be 355 tons. But that is somewhat of an arbitrary number. Therefore, they ensured that the invitation for bid did dictate that they would have to provide a unit cost in case, in fact, we ended up having to buy more riprap. We would already know what their unit cost is for riprap and would have been able to compare that unit cost with the competitor bidders. And they were the lowest bid, as we say.
So it was Moffett and Nichols who estimated the tons of riprap?
Yes, they were our design engineering team.
So it sounds like what you were saying is if we had originally done it this way, would the expectation that we were gonna be using all new stuff, that this would be the cost?
Yes.
Total, the 516,000 and change?
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, the additional riprap. Had
Yes,
the-
yes, yes.
Had the additional riprap been estimated, 100% correctly?
That's a net cost, that would include the additional 350 tons of riprap, right?
Yes, that's a net, yeah.
Yeah.
Does that give you any pause that Moffett and Nichols underestimated the riprap to that extent? I mean, we're using them for a lot of estimation purposes for other projects.
Yes, I would, 355 versus 520 is quite a discrepancy. We will actually see and only pay for what Valentine actually uses. So we get manifests, truck manifests for the tonnage of rock that is dropped off. I would just have to argue, that it is obviously difficult to look at a project and try to
It's a renovation.
accurately estimate how much riprap is going to be needed. It's not like a brand new project, I think that arguably the architects could, engineering teams could, if they're planning to build a brand new mound of rock at X slope, X height, X width, they'd probably be able to estimate it rather accurately. But trying to add on to existing to build up there's a lot more leeway there, honestly.
Thank you.
Superintendent?
So I just wanted to ask you if you thought this was the best thing we could do.
Yes. I think making the fishing pier ADA accessible is, it was identified in our ADA transition plan and our self-assessment by our consultant. So it is something that the board, I think, has a desire to do as well, making sure that, that the district's fishing pier, which is used by persons that have disabilities, and the hand railing and everything is not going to be done now with the old real lumber. Yeah, the hand railing and everything is going to match the rest of Pillar Point Harbor's new hand railing that has
With child
that's
safety.
yeah, exactly, and the
standards.
gaps. That's the other thing. The gaps along the entire walkway had to be shrunk to ADA compliance. In addition, they also built in some smaller windows out on the fishing pier, so persons that are in wheelchairs can enjoy fishing off of them as well. In short, I think the project is very worthwhile, and I think it's admirable that our board's approved the project taking place, and I think that that it is the only option is for us to replace the entire decking. It would not be a realistic option to try to reuse wood decking that has been already proven is in very poor condition.
Yeah.
And it was just frankly not able to be reused with, and us still have the confidence that it's going to, when the project's done, be ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Be flat enough without half-inch gaps. With the brand new lumber, we can be assured of that.
Great, okay, thank you so
In
much.
addition, as I'll go on in a minute, as Commissioner Lorenas brought to my attention to ensure that we are going to make sure that the fish cleaning station is done professionally as well.
Great, sounds great, thank you.
Ed?
I think it's a great project, so glad we're moving on it.
I just, one quick, Tom? Go ahead.
I was out at the recreational side recently, and if you refer to page 11-2, bottom picture, the project is underway. There is no railing at the current time. Having spent about 30 years on and off of HDOC, I've seen our harbor workers turn boards over. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I understand intimately the value of putting in new lumber. Turn a couple over and you see, wait a minute, these things are rotted on the side that we couldn't see, or maybe they were turned over 20 years ago, who knows? But it's also real difficult, if you look at the top picture on 11.2, there's so much structure over, how are you going to determine really how much rock and how many voids you exactly have? So I can totally support this, and I don't think they're going to bring extra rock and leave it for us that we don't need.
Okay, so I just have a quick question. This 100, so the difference between the 520 and the 355 tons is 165 additional tons. So that's the 40, just, I just wanted
Yes,
to,
yeah.
47,400. So,
And the grout.
yes, yes, so there is no contingency.
That
Do
project,
we even need that just in case? Because this is a pretty big difference, as Nancy
Yeah.
said, with up 20%. But I get,
normally we do have it, just like in the previous project, a 10% contingency. In this project, when we got it approved, we had no contingency.
yeah.
You know, we always hope that the projects are gonna come in within the bid.
Do we need a contingency?
Well, at present, the board's already approving an additional 88,000, or is considering an additional 88,000 for these two challenges.
But that's,
I can't guarantee that, in fact, I might not have to come back to the board again should additional challenges arise, but I hate to be, pessimistic in that regard, and we try to hold the contractors' feet to the fire to ensure that they are building the projects in accordance with their bid.
okay. So we can approve this, but if you think we might need a contingency, we could amend this motion to include a contingency like the others, but if you don't think we need it, I'm happy to approve what we've got here. I just don't.
Well, the good thing about, I'll say this, the good thing about having contingency is it would never have to slow the project down.
Right, that's,
So,
and it's an important enough project, and people.
so if we wanted to, if the board wished to add an additional 10% to this increase,
I mean, how does the board feel? Can we do that as an amendment to the motion?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, how do y'all feel about that?
that would give me more leeway should they have to come back for
Right.
some other little thing.
That makes sense, right? Okay, so, did you make the original motion? Or who made the
Amend the motion to authorize general manager to implement 2 change orders to the previously approved Pillar Point Harbor Fishing Pier Rehabilitation Project agreement with Valentine Corp., increasing the construction cost by $88,681.56, and approve an increase in capital project appropriations by the same amount. This will also include a 10% contingency fund should it be needed.
Is that sufficient? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? No? Sabrina? Okay, so roll call, please.
Okay, Commissioner Mateusz,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
President Chamberlain.
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan. Aye. Commissioner Ryder.
The motion carries. Thank you, John. So we're on to item 12, which is board acceptance of project bid submittal to repair support pilings at Pillar Point Harbor Johnson Pier timber platform. John?
All right, this is a motion pursuant to an invitation for bid, authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with the lowest qualified bidder, DRS Marine Inc., for piling repairs at Pillar Point Harbor Johnson Pier Terminus for $34,775, with a 10% contingency in the event there is a need for change orders due to unforeseen challenges, and authorize the general manager to issue change orders up to the contingency amount, and approve an increase in the capital project appropriations of $38,253, which includes that 10% contingency. This is a project that Brad Porter from Moffett Nickel had touched on a little bit earlier. It is the wooden platform at Johnson Pier, which the refrigerators lie on, and he pointed out the 2 pilings that have been compromised due to wood-boring organisms, and we want to sleeve those pilings. We put out an invitation for bid after the design, engineering, technical specifications were completed, and regretfully in this instance, we only got one. We had 4 people that came out to give us bids, and I'm sorry, we had 4 bids on this one. Yeah, we had actually 4 bids on this one, and DRS was the lowest bidder. Yeah. So we asked the board to consider approving the aforementioned motion.
Okay, is there a motion to?
I move that we authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with the lowest qualified bidder, DRS Marine Incorporated, for piling repairs at Pillar Point Harbor Johnson Pier Terminus for $34,775 with a 10% contingency in the event there is a need for change order due to unforeseen challenges, and authorize the general manager to issue change order up to the contingency amount, approved increase in capital project appropriations of $38,253.
I'll second. Okay, any discussion? Tom? Sabrina? Okay, roll call please.
Commissioner Brennan? Aye. Commissioner Mateusz?
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryder?
Aye.
President Chamberlain?
Aye. So that motion carries. Thank you, John. So now we're on to item 13, which is Information Technology Services Contract with Think Connected. Julie.
Okay, discussion item 13 outlines the request for proposal process used and the recommended outcome.
District staff issued an RFP on October 23rd, 2019 for information technology services contract. On November 19th, the district received 6 qualified responses. The responses were rated by district administrative staff, and the top 3 firms were invited to an interview. Based on proposals and interviews, the panel unanimously recommends Think Connected as the highest ranked firm. The panel believes that Think Connected is the best choice because they are locally based in San Francisco, they have governmental experience, and during the presentation they conveyed a professional customer service-oriented approach with the goal of helping the district improve its current information technology infrastructure. With the approval of this recommendation by the board, staff will work with Think Connected on an enterprise resource planning system which will include accounts receivable and marina management, purchasing, accounts payable, budget, and general ledger modules, and possibly payroll down the line. We also work towards cloud-based storage capabilities. Think Connected has experience with supporting agencies through these types of transitions. Entering into agreement with Think Connected will result in approximately $30,000 increase in annual costs. Staff believes that the anticipated added value to the district supports these increased costs. There's currently sufficient budgeted appropriations to cover the approximately $20,000 for this current fiscal year. The increased cost for next fiscal year will be included in the 2020-2021 budget document. Staff recommends that this board approve the panel's recommendation to rate Think Connected as the highest ranking firm and authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Think Connected for information technology services as presented in attachment 3 and adjusted slightly with some last minute changes, including an estimated $3,750 of onboarding and audit charges and a monthly monitoring fee of $2 per district device, and include the rates for out-of-scope services as in the attached proposal and adding the contractor contact information.
I'll move to approve panel recommendation of rating Think Connected and authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement for IT services, estimated costs being $42,900 for the remainder of fiscal year 2019-20, and $80,000 for fiscal year 2020-21, and shall increase at 3.5% each year thereafter. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Sabrina?
No, I don't have any questions.
Ed? Tom?
I received a phone call from one of the bidders that did not succeed in the bidding process, asking me what the PRA process was, very upset that they didn't get the bid. And I said, well, there's probably nothing stopping you, because I didn't know this was going on, just so that you know it happened in the background.
Thank you for your work on these.
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you. Also, I know that I had interviews with all of the candidates. And there was like a full day. And I am glad that you have agreed on a vendor that you like. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Lennis?
Aye.
President Champerlain?
Aye.
Commissioner Vernon?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Mateusz?
Aye.
Okay, item 14, which is direction to staff regarding decorative old fishing vessel at Pillar Point Harbor entrance. John?
All right, this was, when commissioners, at the end of every meeting, commissioners have the opportunity for future agenda items. Commissioner Ryring had brought this to our attention, which staff was in complete agreement with, and are now asking the board for direction on how the board wishes to move forward with the decorative old fishing boat Monte Rosa, the Monterey fishing boat that's been at the entrance of Pillar Point Harbor, there at the southeast corner of Cabrillo Highway and Capistrano Road, that's in significant disrepair. The vehicle has been in disrepair for many years. District staff have, on multiple occasions, even in the 3.5 years I've been here, conducted minor repairs to it, adding wood, replacing rotted wood, and painting the boat. The Bill fishing vessel represents Pillar Point Harbor and the local commercial fishing history. Therefore, it is admired by many. It's kind of a landmark even. So there has been a real desire to try to restore it and keep it going. District staff proactively reached out to a professional that has experience in rebuilding these type vessels. He's been a shipwright since 1957 and requested a quote to repair the vessel, not to seaworthy condition, but just to where it could continue to be safe as a landmark signage for Pillar Point Harbor. After evaluating the vessel, it was determined that due to the age, years of rain, water sitting in the hull, the vessel is beyond thorough repair. The hull under the rubber rails was found to be significantly rotten, where the rubber rails, even if replaced, would have nothing to screw into. The hull itself was found to be in danger of collapsing into herself due to the extensive timber rot. The complete timber cradle under the vessel, which it sits upon, is also in need of complete replacement. Staff seek direction from the board on how to move forward. Staff does recommend that the vessel regretfully be demoed and removed, and with board direction, we could, the staff could look into options for an immediate replacement of Pillar Point Harbor signage, bring back to the board all alternatives, or we could wait till the formation of the master plan and overall Pillar Point Harbor signage and wayfinding has been agreed upon by the public and the board. Again, fortunately, our new general manager has a lot of legal experience as well as a bar certified attorney, and in my discussion with these challenges with him, he also brought to my attention, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that there is a considerable liability, as I did have to tell our general manager that it's come to our attention that people do get on that boat, and in its current condition, it could be considered an attractive nuisance, which in effect, us being aware that it's in compromised condition, and the fact that an old boat like that would attract people to potentially get on top of it, and if it were to collapse or fall over, regretfully, someone could be injured. That's the most important thing. But then this district could also be liable for that injury, even if we had signs on it saying do not get on it. We'd have to probably put up a chain link fence with barbed wire around the top of it to really protect the public, children, and less importantly, the district's liability. But more importantly, we don't want anybody getting hurt on it. So again, we ask the board give direction to staff on how they wish to go forward. I will also say that we got with this same shipwright who's known the staff and myself for the 3 years I've been here, and he actually rebuilt another small Monterey boat that's in the harbor now. Tom, Commissioner Matthew may be familiar with it. We're also looking for other options, old fishing vessels that maybe someone might want to donate. There was, in fact, about a year ago, one that that was offered, but somehow that fell through. So we find ourselves now in a situation where it is questionable to continue to ignore the poor condition of this old icon.
Fond as I am of that boat and having the boat at the entrance to the harbor, from these pictures and going by it, I'd recommend the immediate and prompt destruction of that vessel. I would say my recommendation is to keep your eyes open for another potentially Monterey double under type. As we see on our little poster right up here, that's the what followed the old feluccas. So these things have a lot of history. You know, I don't know what Leland's going to do with the boat that he refurbed.
Yeah.
Because I know they turned that into a foundation, and I'm not sure what the status of that is. I know that's been kind of shaky ground itself.
That's the one that was about a year ago. I had agreed that we would be interested in accepting that as a donation and maybe even purchasing it. So I had thought I might bring a proposal like that to the board, but somehow that had fallen through. Leland had informed us, but we're still going to continue pursuing that boat and potentially others.
I'll follow that. No rush. Don't rush into anything. We kind of rushed into that last one, and look what it got us. It's got us a destruction. Save the propeller. Put it up historically somewhere in the harbor. I'm glad we have the opportunity to discuss this. You're bringing up all of the concerns about safety and unsightliness of that fair old craft. I agree with Tom. They should be demolished. I think it would be really interesting to have nothing there for a little while and see if just the unobstructed view of the harbor is maybe preferable.
Okay, Sabrina?
It's a tradition to have a vessel there, and I know that there are a lot of strong feelings about that. And I personally like it. I think it adds to the funky vibe of North Point Harbor, and I think that that's why people come. So I don't think old vessels are what I would call unsightly necessarily. And I agree that this one has outlived its usefulness, and it's time, you know, for it to go to boat heaven. But, you know, I think finding another vessel to put there, I would definitely support that. And I would like to point out too that I would not want to see us do any kind of piecemeal thing where we try to put in some unattractive signage temporarily until we have a proper signage program with our master plan. So I would hate to see, I know previously Scott Grindy had pitched the idea of putting a obnoxious billboard style electronic sign there, and that would be a very sad thing for Pillar Point Harbor. So I really hope nothing like that happens. I would also say that if anybody's noticed, the state of the landscaping at Pillar Point Harbor is just beyond atrocious. And I know we have a huge gopher problem. I'd love to see eventually when we get into the master plan, some sort of a plan for whether it's some container gardening or whatnot, a way to make the facility more attractive with native plants. And I know we have to deal with the gopher issue, but there are creative ways of doing that. I think we need a well thought out plan. We could work with an organization like Go Native is working for the county. There are a lot of alternatives for native plants on the coast side. But I think at this point, I'm just in favor of trying to find another vessel to put there so that we can keep our funky charm that we all love so much in our working fishing harbor vibe.
Great, Ed?
I'm in agreement with what's been said. I definitely think that there's an opportunity once we move that thing to do some landscaping, get some native plants there. The native plants will survive the gopher problem much
And are you okay with demolishing this one? Because it could be an unsafe
So I'm
structure.
fine with the staff recommendation, and we heard what
Yeah.
John
Okay,
said.
well, I just want to be clear.
But
That's
I
all
don't,
asking.
I'm not necessarily agreeing with how you're reflecting back the commissioner positions, because I heard myself say that I supported having another vessel there. I clearly heard Tom say that. I'm not clear on where everybody else stands with that. I mean, I heard Nancy
Well,
say
okay.
she doesn't support it.
No, I said that there's an opportunity to see what the view corridor looks like without a boat there.
Okay.
But that's, she's not saying, and I don't know, Ed, are you, it sounds like you and Nancy are on the same page, but are you waiting to, we can go with staff recommendation, which it sounds like everyone is in agreement that we should probably get rid of the current boat.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
maybe look at
In my
another
opinion,
boat.
that's
Yeah.
what we have to do, and
Yeah.
then we can deal with,
How the
with
future,
step two
yeah.
when we're ready.
And I don't see like a boat as a thing where if we find a replacement boat, that's instead of landscaping. I think
Right.
we need landscaping no matter what happens.
Yeah, so it sounds like at least the first part of the direction is to demolish the boat. And then I guess we can have another discussion. I mean, there's obviously desire to have landscaping, and there's desire to have a replacement boat that's appropriate.
Understood.
Yeah, but
From my understanding from the board, since it seems to me everybody's on the same page,
for demolishing.
what staff will do is go ahead and clear up the potential hazard of this, regretfully, this older vessel. I'm sure that the general manager will direct and approve us looking at landscaping options. So we will do that as well, no matter what, independently of whatever else is decided. We will keep our eyes open, as we already have been, I will say, for options with regard to an alternative small vessel, older Monterey type Dubliner that I think everybody likes. Before we do anything, we would bring it back to board for consideration. There would not be a situation where we would, and I can speak for the general manager here, I know, would not be a situation where the general manager's gonna pick out a sign, and next thing you know, the board's gonna see a big sign out there. This will be a board decision. Staff will make recommendations as we come forward. And if we are unable to find a suitable boat replacement that the board is happy with, then I would imagine we would just go ahead and wait until we complete the master plan and have a professional architectural consultant helping us with signage and wayfinding, and potentially have the board look at different alternatives that are consistent with that wayfinding signage.
The other thing that I think is super important while we're addressing that corner, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic that comes through there, and it's a very dangerous intersection. So I think if we could make that area more pedestrian friendly, so there's more area to stand in. I mean, if you go stand at that corner, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I think we need to think in terms of, what can we do to improve the situation for pedestrians, people with wagons and baby strollers and bicycles, everybody piles up there, and there's not a lot of room.
Yeah, I will look into that for sure, and I'll let you know.
You also
So,
want to look into a fundraiser, you get a sledgehammer, everybody takes a swing, and after your swing, you get a beer or a glass of wine.
that's what I was gonna ask. So, the $20,000 has nothing to do with the demolition, right?
I'm sorry?
The $20,000 that's in the report
No, that was,
has nothing to do with the
that was
demolition.
really before I compiled this,
Right.
prior to us getting a report back from Shipwright.
So
Leland.
how is this going to be demolished? Are we gonna,
So
do you have to
my-
apply anything in terms of money?
We'll be able to,
Okay,
we'll
I
be
wanna
able
make
to,
sure.
we'll be able to demo the boat just like we do all other derelict marine debris by getting 3 quotes, and I wouldn't imagine it would be more than $3,000 or $4,000.
Okay, it sounds like that's the direction the staff is to demolish this book. Okay. Item 15, which is the social media and public outreach services. Julie.
Okay, Jill Falcone, CEO and founder of Funding Services, is with us this evening to present program results to date and to propose continued public outreach services for 2020 and support services for social media to augment in-house management of social media communications and platforms. Beginning in January of 2019, Funding Partners created our social media presence, has maintained contact, and has trained our new communications analysts. After Joe's presentation, staff asked for more direction and has outlined 5 potential motions that are included in the staff report.
Okay. Will we have a public comment from John Owen?
Wait. Real quick though, Nancy, you want to look up the reaction that the co-side had when someone turned off the foghorn. It was epic, and so I'd be careful about describing it, how you describe co-side monuments and traditions. The board took a real beating over that foghorn thing, so it was pretty horrendous. As far as social media outreach, I think it's great. I would suggest a real simple thing, and I'm sorry to do this to you, Steve, that in the past, this district, the board turned off video recording of meetings because of whatever reason they had. My brother decided that was unacceptable, and we showed up and we started live streaming those meetings. This is important if you care about this stuff. We started live streaming those meetings, and it costs next to nothing. For an investment of about $300-400, this district can live stream its meetings to everybody in the world. And so I know you want to be more relevant, and you should be. I mean, this is a county-wide district. Only the coast side gets to see this live. When my brother and I used to put these things on YouTube Live, we would get about 30 to 40 viewers, but the only advertising we could do was on the coast side. Nobody cared about what we were doing on the other side of the hill. I'm not suggesting you allow us to do that again, that's not going to happen. But again, for $300 to $400, you can invest in the equipment, get a free YouTube account. I believe this gentleman understands exactly what I'm talking about. And we could live stream this very meeting across the county and back across the world. And that would raise your profile up as a district quite a bit, which this district needs a little bit of profile raising. I believe that's it. The other thing is if for some reason Steve doesn't have the equipment, the ability to put an output into HDMI output basically is what we'd go into. The camera, the rig that would cost to replace his would be about another $500 to $600. And it would be something the district could have on hand. And as Mr. Moran, he did a great job operating my equipment the last time I left it here. We got that video up on the Harbor District site. So for an investment of less than $1,000 and with very little training, all these meetings could be live streamed and everybody in the county would have access to what's going on here. Thanks.
Thank you. So there's a presentation from Joe Falcone from Funding Partners. Joe, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Debbie didn't load the PowerPoint, so we have this PDF, which is fine. It's the same material. I just hope that well, let's see. Not sure how we turn pages here. That's the only problem.
Please scroll down.
I'll just oh, it's scrolling. Okay. There we go. So, okay, let me start at the beginning. So in March, the district had nothing, had no social media sites at all. In March, we started creating the sites, starting out with Harbor District sites on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and then later we created sites for Pillow Point Harbor and Oyster Point Marina. Our first month, we did 33 posts, we reached 6,000 people. At that point, you kind of wonder, why are we here? Why are we doing this? But with social media, you have to be patient. And so, the last 6 months have been very good to us. We've grown to over 2,700 followers, published almost 2,700 posts, We now have automated posts for weather, small craft advisory, gale warnings, high and low tides, and SMC alerts in the relevant areas. Also, all manual Facebook posts, the non-automated ones, have been all translated to Spanish over the last, since July 1st. Our Facebook analytics, 620,000 impressions, so we had content viewed 620,000 times. In November alone, we had 154,000 impressions. We reached 108,000 people. So we went from 6,000 in starting in March to 108,000, and that's Facebook alone. As you can see, Twitter 170,000 impressions, Instagram 80,000 impressions, and I think it's like 4,000 or 5,000 for LinkedIn. One of the reasons why the numbers went so high is the Pillar Point Harbor Facebook page went viral, which I only noticed when I switched vendors of our reporting software, and suddenly this graph emerged, and I was able to trace it down to two particular posts. We started beach water quality posts back in late June, and that started.
You got it to work.
We're okay.
Here's PowerPoint.
Yeah, no, we're okay. And the blue is the Pillar Point Harbor Facebook page, the orange is the San Mateo County Harbor District Facebook page, and the green is the Oyster Point Marina page. Those temporary bumps are when we did advertising. So when we did boosts of posts or other promotions, we promoted things. And you can see you promote, you get a temporary increase and then it goes down again. But what was amazing was then it just kind of took off. And it went down a little, then we had the Bragg Surf Safety Summit, and it took off again. So, we ended up with these pretty amazing numbers. The numbers for, as you can see, for the Harbor District page are not too shabby either. And we're consistently reaching, in the territory of around 40,000. So, this is impressions. So we're having our content viewed on the average around 40,000 times. But this is significantly higher. We're in the 100,000 range now. And I was expecting this to be more of a temporary effect, but as you can see, it's just kind of showing a seasonal effect as well. And with crab season, this is probably going to continue going up. The other thing that impacts this is the Pillar Point Harbor Facebook page gets the most check-ins. We've had a modest amount of check-ins, about 1,000, but that propagates the name. So basically, as people share things and stuff, they see Pillar Point Harbor, and they see the Facebook page, and they can click on it, and they can go back and see our content. And so we get that viral effect as people share things. This is just examples of the content. If you haven't really had a look at what we're doing, we have a variety of content on the harbor. This is content about the Harbor District. We got some content from Glenn, sent us his pictures of visiting, an old picture of Patrol Boat. Got the dog rescue when the guys were in training, so on and so forth. We advertise all of the employment listings, all of the RFPs, all of the invitations to bids. Those are all boosted. So right now, the one that's being boosted is the one in the top left corner for the Deputy Harbor Masters. So that's getting pushed out to probably around 10,000 people in the Greater Bay Area right now. This is Pillar Point Harbor content that we put out there. This is Oyster Point Marina content. We get a lot of content from what I call content partners. So this is the RCD, DDW, Health Department for beach water quality, CDFW, and I think that's another DVEW thing with the pump out app, yeah. And then for safety, we post a lot of NOAA videos. We got the Coast Guard bulletin about the battery charging, Tsunami Center video, tsunami awareness, the poor unfortunate guy who got stranded out there in the fog with a sinking boat that made the news. So that was like making a point about bringing a marine radio and all sorts of stuff with you that you shouldn't have, which the guy didn't. But these are all, you know, this one actually went viral. This was Sneaker Waves. It turns out the first location shown in the NOAA Sneaker Wave video is that area, Mavericks Beach, where the breakwater shoots out, where everyone got knocked over in the last time there was a Mavericks there. So everyone was looking at this, not realizing what can happen. So that was a really good one to share. In terms of public outreach, we did a lot of work with the Surf Safety Summit. Amy, which I should mention, Amy told me that her dad was alone or with a group.
No, he was the last one to paint the boat.
That's being destroyed.
That's being destroyed.
That's her dad.
Because his dad and his grandfather both fished out of the wharf, so it looks like my grandfather's boat. But anyway.
It's Mateo.
It's, oh yeah, well, no.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm sure he's okay with it.
He's gonna go down with the boat, it's okay.
Yeah. But it's a good point. These are potent symbols.
I just thought about driving by to school every day and going, where's the puck? Just, we missed the boat for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we definitely had a challenge with BRAG because if you recall, they turned the power off that weekend. I'm not quite sure how Amy managed to get catering for 100 people when there was no power, but they managed it one way or another because, as you know, restaurants can't serve food if there's no power. So, but she managed it, so.
Really great job, too.
Thank you.
Everybody was really happy and moving all the chairs and tables and all of that food. That was just a lot to do. So.
And it was local vendors also, right?
Mm-hmm.
All local.
This side of the hill.
Beautiful weather.
We got lucky.
It was perfect.
Yeah, we got lucky.
If it wasn't local vendors, it probably wouldn't have happened because the people over the hill were like, we're not going to do anything. So we did a couple harbor tours. I organized a nature walk that started at the harbor master office and curled around all the way over to Mavericks. And that went extremely well. That would be an excellent, regardless of what you guys do with the contract, that would be an excellent monthly thing to do. I recommended that we look into doing that during the peak nature viewing season, which is January to April, September to December. That it's just spectacular what you can see when you go and walk around there, and the plans for the West Trail and all that stuff, and I think it all kind of fits together. Amy was trying to organize Oyster Point Marina Nature Walk. As you guys know, that's a challenging prospect with all the construction. But I think, again, I've lined up some really, really good guides that we could use to do those, whether on a weekend or on a weekday. And is the fishing trip still on? We're hoping. Doubtful.
Yeah.
I know with the weather.
Yeah.
So that's been
Tom has to call it.
Yeah, that's been very, very difficult trying to organize.
My second skipper thinks it's on.
Sorry?
My second skipper thinks it's on. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, anyway, this is some pictures from the events. We got some B-Rag pictures in there, which really was quite an event. We we've got I think Lizzie took like 100 pictures, so we've got a lot of pictures of that. So for 2020, we're looking at doing the whole year. The previous contracts were for 3 months and 6 months. So same team, we've got the district communications analyst Lizzie on board now, who I've been training, and who's now doing most of the posting. So my role moving forward is basically being backup and a resource for Lizzie. So she is doing most of the posting. I anticipate doing maybe 1 or 2 posts a week in the future. And so what's been proposed is my taking the top line proposal, you can say, is my taking a backup role to her and being a resource moving forward. So the project, one way or another, whether Lizzie does it, I do it, or we do it together, continues with these goals, which is to do post Monday through Friday in the same categories, boost post to a wider audience where possible, advertise to get more followers, and so far translating all menu posts to Spanish has really been quite effective, because we're getting, depending on how you measure it, somewhere between 7 and 20% self-identified Spanish speakers connecting with our content. So that's really good. Our doing the translation, using a translation service, means we get good translations. If you look at what Facebook does, if any of you, Nancy probably does, Ed probably does, you probably do as well, anyone who gets foreign language posts in Facebook and presses the translate button, you get a lot of nonsense. It's unbelievably bad. So by doing this, people that have their phones set to Spanish get really good, Spanish translations instead of what Facebook feeds them. So that to me has been very, very useful, and I think that's why we're getting a decent following. In terms of outreach and education, we kind of did the heavy lifting this year to establish these relationships and break the ice with them, and in terms of getting some events organized. And I was talking to Amy about, now that we've kind of connected the dots, we can do a more of a facilitation role in getting these organizations to work with the right people and get these events going. And as I said, I'm now in touch with some really, really good naturalists that we can use for nature walks, for the OPM and the PPH moving forward. And that's it.
Great, before we move on, it's just a little after 9:25, we're at 9:30 stop, so I would like to entertain a motion to extend the meeting to 10 p.m.
I move that we extend the meeting to 10 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Riley?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
President Shankarelli? Aye. Commissioner Lorenz?
Aye.
Commissioner Mateo?
Aye.
Motion carries. Sorry, Jim.
No problem.
Is that it? Okay.
That's it.
Okay, good. Thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
So, I'm happy to open it up to commissioner comments. We do have 4 possible alternatives that we can consider tonight.
I wanted to say thank you to Joe, too. I think you and I have worked most closely together this year, and it's been really fun watching you roll this stuff out. Really enjoyed it. You created a presence for us.
Thank you.
Julie, do you want to just briefly talk about the 4 alternatives or 4 possible solutions?
Okay, so one is to approve the extension of the current contract with Funding Partners as proposed in attachment 2. One thing I don't think Joe talked about is the breakout of that proposal, so I'll give it a try a little bit. The social media content acquisition, creation, and delivery would be $6,000 for the year for Joe's time. The social media management console subscription is paid to third parties, so that would be a cost to the district regardless. Social media advertising, the same thing as cost to the district regardless. Outreach and education services is something that we would have to look at where the bandwidth of the current staff, who would be able to take that on. I know that the operational staff does do some outreach, tours and things like that, but that's been greatly supported by the current contract that we have with them. Same with the transportation and other third-party expenses. I know they also go out and look for funding and grants to support these programs. The bilingual services is also paid to a third-party provider of $3,000. Promotional items is purchasing things, and the management and compliance would actually be paid to their team. So it's $7,800 for the year for the continued support of these services if the board so desires to continue. The rest will be cost incurred, and the outreach and education services would have to be a decision by this board of whether they would want to continue, which brings us into some of the other possible motions, which is to approve an extension of the contract for the public outreach portion only, which would be $6,200 or $16,200, and or other components of the proposal, and then that would require direction to the general manager to negotiate for partial services, which would presumably be in that $25,000 threshold range of the general manager's authority. Continue with the current contract, which doesn't have an expiration date, which will eventually run out of money. The social media component of the current contract runs out of money at December 31st of this year. But there would probably be approximately $8,000 left for the public outreach component, in which case that we wouldn't do anything. There's not an expiration date in the current contract. And the fourth possible motion would be to terminate the contract effective December 31st and authorize the general manager to negotiate a contract with funding partners for costs associated with the handoff of the social media accounts. So there could be
a lot of options.
Yeah, there could be other options too.
It just seems like a lot of options. I have a few questions,
Sure.
but, okay. So first of all, I just want to say that I really appreciate that we are doing this Spanish language translation. I think it's really valuable and important, and as a public agency, I think we have a responsibility to reach out to as many people as possible. I mean, I'd love it if eventually we had some Asian language translation, because we know who our visitors are to some extent, and we do have a lot of people that come to both Oyster Point Marine and Pillar Point Harbor whose language, their first language is not English. And so I think that, we know that that's the case, and so the more we can do to communicate, the better. So I think that's really worthwhile. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is the beach advisory posts are so valuable, because the county does their email outreach, but literally hardly anybody knows about it. And the way that Joe and company have been creating maps and showing which beaches are safe to swim in and which beaches aren't is so useful for families that are trying to make decisions about, where they want to recreate. It doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily skip a beach, because safe that day, but they're going to change the activities that they do at that beach. And I've seen so many kids in the water when there's advisory days and their families just miss the signage. So I think the more we can do, there's a picture on the right of what the mapping looks like. The more we can do to educate the public about safety and making a selection, based on which beach is safe, I think the better off we are as a public agency, because that's our job. I also,
We'll come back to you, it's been 2 minutes, I want to give other people.
okay, fine.
Nancy?
Joe, you mentioned that even though Lizzie's doing most of the posting now for social media pages, that you still anticipate doing 2 or 3 posts a week. How would those be different than what Lizzie is doing?
Yeah, I think the focus, I guess I should probably get here. The focus, we're trying to figure out how this would work, but I think Lizzie would handle all the district stuff, and I'm pretty plugged into all the content partners, RCD, CDFW, DBW, all that. Plus all the news outlets, the research organizations, things like that. So the idea is she would pull as much content as she can from the district and PPH and OPM, and I would, as she needed filler, right, if she doesn't have something for Monday, I would come in and put something in for Monday. So also, if she goes on vacation and she doesn't have enough stuff to queue up, I can fill in that. And so really, for me, it's kind of I bill as required, to fill in. The other thing is, we haven't had as many meetings as we really needed to complete her training. And obviously, we've done a lot in the last 9 months. So I think, like just today, I got an email from her about, to explain something. I anticipate a lot more emails, moving forward about how to do things, how Facebook keeps changing, Twitter keeps changing. We've just had to, I didn't explain on there, we've been through 2 special qualifications to be able to continue advertising, because Facebook considers our advertising to be of issues of national importance or political issues. I guess the ocean and marinas and harbors are of national importance to Facebook, which is nice that they consider that, but they made us go through rather extensive identification procedures, sending them our driver's licenses, sending them documentation from the Harbor District to prove that we are who we say we are, and things like that. So we've gone through all of that. I've helped her navigate that. It's very complicated. So, moving forward, there could be more things like that we need to go through. I've spent 8 years doing this. Lizzie's completely new to business social media. So, I anticipate there'll be other issues that she runs into where she'll need a hand. So, but yeah, the amount we're looking at there, max 500 a month, it's not a lot of my time. And yeah, I can't do much in that, but I can definitely support her work.
Some of the things you just mentioned, that you subscribe and then you repost on our site, I would think that Lizzie would be able to pick that up rather quickly. I think I've heard Debbie talk about trying to post things in the past, and while we understand she won't be here, I would imagine that there could be a structure set up within the admin that a number of people would have administrative privileges to be able to post. And I'm just curious, some of the things that I see, the high tide and some of these warnings, I just wonder why the Harbor District's putting it out at all. So many people get it on their own feeds if they have Facebook. Many of us have email accounts where we get direct notification of fish and wildlife, different issues. So I'm just curious why we're engaging someone to post these for us.
That was a little unclear. What posts precisely are you complaining about, so we understand?
I wasn't complaining, I just didn't know why we're getting the weather alerts, the tides alerts, the SMC alerts. We all get SMC alerts on our phone, we get them in email. We get weather through our different apps that we have. I just see a lot of this stuff. Tide, you can pick up your phone anytime and you have a Tide app. There's numerous.
If I might answer, I had a couple of meetings with Harbor District staff over the last 9 months, and in those meetings, these suggestions were made and I implemented them. In terms of the automatic posting of weather alerts and tide alerts, those can be adjusted, but there was a suggestion from the harbor masters that we put in the weather alerts into Facebook because you might check them, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people just come here and expecting fine weather all the time, and then they discover it's not. So I think a lot of people don't know where to go to get this information. By the way, this is the only implementation I'm aware of that automatically posts these alerts onto Facebook. You're welcome to show me on Facebook where there's another harbor that's automatically posting these. We talked to Debbie about her posting them, and of course, it's complicated because you have to go to NOAA, find out if there is a small craft advisory or a gale warning, then grab the information, post it on the website, and then when the alert's taken off, take it off the website because it stays there until you take it off. And by putting it on Facebook, and we put the exact text that NOAA puts out there, people can see this is the NOAA information. They can click on the link, which brings them directly to the NOAA Marina weather site for the area, and they can see the full description of what's going on. So I think we've done I mean, again, this wasn't my idea. I just implemented it, and it took code. I had to write code to implement this. And the reason for the tide alerts was the same thing, which was people like to go to the tide pools over by Mavericks or Fitzgerald, and obviously for, and mud flats. And obviously for OPM, the high tide alerts were of interest because of the parking lot and harbor master building flooding. So, but I absolutely agree, and there's no question. In fact, I will go a step further. There is not a single piece of information on the Harbor District, Pillar Point Harbor, or Oyster Point Marina social media sites that isn't somewhere else. That's not the point. The point is people can go to one place and get all of this, right? And that's why we've been able to increase from 5 followers to 2,700 followers, because they find it a very convenient place to get all of this information. And all I was doing was taking suggestions from Carrie and Dante and Willie and the guy, who's the OPM guy? Amy? Jim Merlo, all these guys. All these guys throwing suggestions at me saying, Joe, you should do this, and Joe, you should do that. So I went ahead and did that stuff, you know.
Well,
So and I'll say, if you don't like what's there, that's fine. And really, as the saying goes, if our users didn't like what's there, they could unsubscribe or unfollow. And I can walk you through our unfollow and our unsubscribe statistics. And when we get people, they stay with us. They like what they see. You know?
Well, I was just gonna, you missed one important concept, and that is one of the reasons to do these kinds of postings is to attract people to our page, so we can tell them about what we're about. If we just tell them, if all we were doing bring in 100,000 folks looking at our site when we say something about safety at Pillar Point Harbor or at Oyster Point Marina that's relevant, you're going to reach all of those people because they're also looking for other things. And that's, to me, one of the most important things of having this social media.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, Jared. I was looking at your presentation on page 12, where you have delivery of at least 5 manual posts per week. And one of the bullets, or one of the items is district business. There are 5 or 6 items that you could post about. How do you determine what gets posted? Because I agree that the information to the public is very important, so I'm just curious as to how you determine what information.
So the first priority is district business. So district business is the, for bridge players out there, it's the trump card. So it comes out, an agenda, invitation for bid, an RFP, picture that Jim or Dante sends in, what have you. Whatever, those are first priority. Then we start filling in, right? Every Friday we've been publishing beach water quality because that comes out usually late Wednesday. And so I edit it and I put that out every Friday so that people have it for the weekend. And then after that, it's a question of what's going on here. So if it's crab season, we track the CDFW posts. If there's new boating information, obviously in the summer, we post a lot of stuff about safety in the water, a lot of water safety stuff. But basically we have kind of a priority of how we fill things in. And the reason why, so we make a commitment to do 20 posts a month, right? And obviously we do a lot more than that. And the reason is that sometimes during the week, there are multiple things that come out at the same time.
Great.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we end up with 2 posts in a day, 3 posts in a day,
So for district business, for example, how do you prioritize what gets posted? There's a lot of district business that I've seen that hasn't, or that I know that hasn't been posted. So I'm just trying to determine how you determine or decide what gets posted from district business.
From what I can tell, we've posted everything. The only exceptions we've made is when I'm instructed by staff not to post something. So for example, we haven't posted sometimes the lien sales because the feeling is these boats should be destroyed. They shouldn't be, and we have, I guess, grant funding to help destroy them or what have you. So everything that Debbie puts out on the website, we try to grab it. And in fact, I even have a monitor now that watches the website, and anytime it changes, I get a notice so that we can put it out. There've been a couple of times where we missed something, but I don't know, Julie.
Well, has staff directed you to put out information or not put out information on board happenings? I know that I've seen like the agendas and which I think is great. So I'm just curious as to what exactly does staff direct you to do or not to do regarding
anything Debbie puts out there, a board agenda, a committee agenda, any other board news, it goes out. We don't.
And news about the board?
Yeah, I mean,
The reorg was not on there.
What?
The reorganization in September was not put on there, so I'm a little concerned that
yes, yes, it was. There was a post.
I didn't see it, and maybe I missed it, but.
There was a post announcing you're becoming president and Nancy becoming vice president.
But if you're posting news, which the public is entitled to hear about the people who are elected to represent them, this was in the news. I don't really care if it's on the thing, but I actually got phone calls asking me about this. That's why I'm bringing it up. So I'm just curious.
No, what specifically are you, I'm sorry, but what
Well, just
specific?
the whole reorganization, there were news articles that were in there, in the papers, and I'm just
What are you
curious as to.
Don't touch me, please, don't touch me. That's right, I can film, I'm filming for Jen.
That's
and-
okay.
It's a public meeting, Nancy, she can film whatever she wants.
And so I would just like to.
All I can
Please,
say,
but I expect great behavior from, you know, certain people and certain members of the family. These are just fair questions because I do not believe that any kind of information that goes to the public should be biased, especially from a consultant that we pay money to. So I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying the appearance is like that. I'm just curious.
so
That's all. And it's a question that the public
when
has
you
the right
became
to.
when you became president and Nancy became
Thank
vice
you for
president.
phoning me, by the way.
No, when you became president and Nancy became vice president, those were posted on the Facebook page.
That
That's,
we became president, vice president, but not the actual news articles about this.
If she wants you to post the propaganda, she wants the reason, she wants you to post things that are against us.
so as a rule, I'm not a big fan of posting stuff from the review because they inject a lot of their
Okay.
opinion into it, right? I'd rather just post, and by the way, let me also.
And that's okay, I'm just glad to hear this. I don't know your methodology, that's all.
Okay,
I
so
hope that when you do tape it, please do the whole truth and not the half.
can you give me a minute to just explain?
Sure, yeah.
So
I
that,
just want to make sure the news isn't biased, that goes on a public website. That's all, that's,
okay.
You got an example
it's
of
a
it
fair
being biased?
concern.
And Julie can back me up on this. In training Lizzie, right, what I told, my rule is we convey information to the public. We're not in the business of making news, okay? So, information is, you've become president, Nancy's become vice president, we tell the public that. That's it. Now, here's the other thing. Because we post the identical material across all social media, we are limited to 258 characters. In 258 characters, you can just state the facts. You can't make a whole lot of comments about what's going on. So I would challenge you to show me where we've gone beyond that. Because frankly, we don't have enough words to say much beyond, this is what happened, there's going to be a meeting Thursday, don't drown, This is what to do when you face a rip current. I mean, I appreciate the concern, but, and this is what I've taught Lizzie, is our goal is, and this was our goal from the very beginning, was if we can save one life, right? One life. Life in America is worth $1 million, right? We can save one life, then all the money we've spent on this, right? 30 grand this year, whatever, right? Multiply that by 30, that's 30 years, right? We've saved one life, right? And I think we've reached enough people about the dangers of unsafe boating practices, of swimming in dangerous conditions, in just standing in the water with your back to the ocean.
I agree, the information
Right.
is great, Joe. I'm not criticizing that.
So,
I just wanted clarification so when people ask me, I can tell them what the methodology is.
yeah.
And I appreciate the taping because I understand that Commissioner Brennan is going to be running for the Board of Supervisors, so please carry on. This is the bias.
No, so,
Anyway.
yeah, that's our goal, is to convey the information to the public and let them draw their own conclusions
Thank
about
you.
things.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? I understand that you had some additional comments.
Virginia, where did you get this remark about me running for board
Well, I
supervisor?
don't understand why you're taping it.
Are you,
But that's
are
okay.
you running for
Okay,
supervisor? Is that
so-
what that's about?
So, you're off topic. Would you like to make any more comments?
I would, thank you.
So, a 2-minute timer, please.
And anybody's welcome to videotaping that likes,
It's
just please.
not worth it, but go on.
Well, you have in the past, you've done the very same thing multiple
Well,
times,
you're
so
right,
let's
but
just
that's-
remember
Well,
that.
there hasn't been a
Except
videographer.
you had your flash on.
Okay,
the
you were
entire
out of
time.
order, so, if you you have no more comment?
No, I do, I do have comments. So, I would like to also mention that, I like the idea that the public raised about live streaming. It would be pretty awesome if we could live stream our meetings, and maybe, PCTV could help with that. You know, I'm not suggesting that we not work with them, but I think, you know, it's something that other districts are doing, and it's an easy thing to do these days. So I'd love to see us live stream on YouTube. I think we could even live stream on Facebook, which I'm doing. So, you know, I think these are fun options for us to get information out to the public quicker. That way, they don't feel like they have to come here. If they want to sit home and have a beer and watch this fun, you know, have at it. So I do like that idea. And then I do think it's important that the board be informed about what the outreach is that is happening. So I think we've had some amazing outreach this year, and that's been good. You know, that's been something that the outreach committee supported. But I also think that since there haven't been very many outreach meetings, it would be helpful if the plan for outreach was something that was brought to the board, and that would also help educate the public about the outreach opportunities that they have, some of these tours that have been happening, and so forth. So that's my big suggestion, I guess, is just, you know, how can we make the outreach more available to the public through noticing it through public meetings. We can use social media to notice it, and we can also educate the board members about it.
So
Thank you.
it's 5 minutes to 10, and we still have to finish this item and go into closed session. Is there a motion to extend the meeting to 10:30?
I'll move to extend the meeting to 10:30.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
That's 4 hours.
10:15? Oh, go ahead, I'm not gonna amend it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Kristen Shankarelli,
Aye.
Commissioner Waring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Fennell.
Aye.
Okay, any other comment?
Yes, I have a
Okay.
comment.
2-minute
So-
comment, please, Kevin?
I'd just like to thank you for all the work you did. Just remind whoever's up watching or will watch later, we went from 0 to where we are today, and it's a huge improvement. It's a lot of work. I don't think you can underestimate the value of having someone who's a member of the community, who has the connections with all the different organizations, and to ask our staff to do that, I think is just overloading them with something that would just take up their time. I think what you guys have done has been really valuable and has added a lot to the district, and I 100% agree with you that education on safety is a huge component of this. And I look forward to hopefully working with you guys more on this. Thank you again.
Okay, any other comments?
I'd like to ask Jim, I know you're very new here and learning the ropes, but how much of this do you think that we can bring in-house? Because the idea when we started with funding was to do as much of this in-house eventually as we could. So do you have a feeling for it yet?
Thanks for asking. Our social media or outreach hire that we just began a couple of months ago, she's getting up to speed. She is working with funding, and she is doing the majority of the posts now, except for some automatic posts, and a few other things that are being done outside. But mainly she's doing the majority of the lift now. And Joe also said that he's supporting her now with those posts and training her. So I think she's doing a great job. And if forced to, I think she can take it over. But I don't want to force her into that position.
Sorry.
The transition period would be great if that's the direction the board wants to go. The outreach may be beyond our capabilities right now with current staffing. So the great outreach that they've done with the different groups, and getting groups to the harbor, which is a major goal of ours in the strategic goal that we just agreed to. to that says maintain for the handoff,
Right.
but I think the outreach portion, the tours, working with the sheriff's associations and everybody else, getting people to come to the harbor, and that's great. And right now, the harbor masters do a great job of reaching out locally, but he was able to reach out district-wide and get people in. So that's a great opportunity for us, and right now, we aren't currently staffed to do that.
That's very helpful. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this new option that Jim has just outlined.
Which new option is that?
We continue to, Lizzie continues to ramp up and continues to do the posting, working with Fondini as needed, if I understand correctly. And that Fondini continues to do the education and outreach component.
Would that be the $16,200?
I think that's right. Isn't it?
Julie, does that include the pass-throughs?
That does not include the pass-throughs, no.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you were billing on an hourly rate or versus not to exceed rate, basically, not in set rate. So it may be, he's estimating about $500 a month
Right.
as opposed to the full contract amount.
So approximately.
And we could do that for 6 months, or we could do that for 3 months, or we do it for the entire year on the social media side of the house, as opposed to the outreach side, which I think are two separate things.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. I think 6 months is a good sort of a time frame to take a look at it again, keep things going, and then reassess in the summer.
I agree.
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a couple of questions.
Thanks, Sabrina.
So back to the point of, how is the board going to get informed? This is a question for you or maybe for Julie. How will the board be informed about the plan for outreach before the outreach is decided on? Like, how is this going to be brought to us so we're in the loop and understanding what the outreach is? Yeah.
Can I make a comment, quote, stroke suggestion? I completely agree. I would actually like to kind of workshop what we do for public outreach in 2020 with a committee. And in a public meeting, maybe we'll advertise it well to try to get more members of the public to come as well. Because I think we've got a range of things we can do. As I mentioned, this nature walk concept looks very good. I didn't mention, Amy is on the board of the Sheriff's Activities League for the COSI. So that's a relationship we could cement with like an MOU and just say, we're gonna take so many South kids a month for some kind of activity, make that a regular thing. And likewise with South City, I've been looking at their organizations for underserved kids. And I'd really like to work out something with South City or some of the other neighboring communities. And as OPM recovers from its ordeal, but even right now, it's a good place to go for a walk. And when we were there a couple months ago, there's a lot of stuff to see if you look out and if you don't look behind you. So I think we've got a lot of opportunities there. I definitely would like guidance because we have almost too many different opportunities. And so, yes, we definitely would like to work with the board and committees and the public to figure out what to do.
So I have a comment on that.
Yes.
We have a structure in place, it just hasn't been used, and that is we have a committee.
Right.
And the formal way it should work is the committee should meet, that's a meeting that the public can attend. And before, the committee, like I've been saying all year now, committees don't make decisions, but they do offer up
I thought it still was.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong, okay.
If I can just add one,
Yes,
or one
yes.
comment. Earlier today, we did a strategic plan outreach, which
Yes.
included direction to, that's all here, provide an outreach plan.
Yes.
So how does the board stay informed of that is through that direction, a draft outreach plan is going to be developed and received, and then get input from the board, make sure we're on track with the board's desires before we implement it. So that's part of that strategic plan that we approved earlier today. So
Okay,
that was my intent on providing information to the board.
so there is a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion, Tom, do you have any comment?
Well, when you talk about adding content and putting it on the site, I did a rough calculation, there's about 10 charter boats in the harbor that all have websites and most of them have Facebook pages, and I'm not seeing any of that work go back onto the district. There's also a similar thing at Oyster Point, and I don't know how we could help the businesses that are there if we're promoting this content.
I think we had a discussion about promoting businesses, and it was that we couldn't really do that, right? Even when we were posting, if a picture inadvertently had a charter boat or a restaurant behind it, we had to really purposefully state that we're looking at the kayak in the water, or whatever, that we don't want to act as a,
We're not an advertising agency. And everybody that has a charter boat has their own social media platform to advertise their business, and that's appropriate for them, but as a public agency, it would be a conflict for us to start deciding to advertise for one business versus another. Or, that could get really ugly if you've got somebody that feels that they got slighted and another business got priority. And I would hate to think about the challenging situations that could arise out of that. So I think that's pretty clear. I will say quickly, though, I think the quality of photos is really important. I was a little bit more hopeful that we would have like a pro photographer shoot the Bragg Summit. I think we kind of missed some serious opportunities there, because it's not often we have all our harbor patrol, in their helmets, and they've got, their new skis out, and everything was just so beautiful, and we didn't have anybody in the water shooting. We didn't have a pro photographer. And so, it shows. So I think there are times when we need to think about, is there something super special happening? Like if we had done the lighted boat thing or whatever, there are those moments where it would be really nice to have a local professional photographer be able to jump in for a few hours and get some great shots. So.
May I make a point in answer to your question, Tom, is that the fact that we have expanded the social media to the extent that you have benefits all of the businesses, because it reaches people who may not have any idea of Pillar Point. They're looking for a kayaker picture with whales or whatever, and they end up finding Pillar Point. Oh, I'll come to Pillar Point and see what's going on there. So that is the point.
Yeah, I beg to differ about the businesses. There's a lot of the Department of Fish and Wildlife does with commercial openers and whatnot. I think there's been a lot with recreational openers. We don't have to necessarily promote a business to show that recreational anglers are going out from the launch ramp and everywhere else and getting lots of crab. You have rockfish, you have salmon season, you have outboard season. And I haven't seen any of those references.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I'll
Those
just,
are good suggestions.
yeah, I'll call for the question. Roll call?
Can I make sure I have the correct motion? That we would continue with communications analyst Lizzie with postings, and that work as needed with Bondini as a consultant, and continue with outreach component with Bondini for the next 6 months
Public outreach.
for public outreach.
Can I add a friendly amendment to my own motion? And I'd like to suggest that if the board agrees, that Jody work with Lizzie and Jim, if necessary, and that you bring information to the board, rather
You want to restate that just so it sounds like it makes sense, please?
I think it was clear. Debbie, do you have, what do you have?
To work with Lizzie and Jim, that
We were to work with staff.
staff brings info, brings information to the board rather than through the social media public outreach committee.
I think what your suggestion is, because of Brown Act, which is, it's put me in a very strange position. I write a monthly report as to what we're doing, and I can only provide it to 2 commissioners. I can provide it to staff and 2 commissioners.
Great.
In the current situation.
Right.
As moving forward, if Lizzie produces the report, she should be able to supply it to all of you. But it's put me in a strange position. So
So does this help you?
that would help,
Amendment.
because then you're asking me to supply it to all of you.
But if he's trying to have
So
a
there's a
meeting,
motion and a second.
I
Oh, no, there's an amended motion. Is there a second to the amended motion?
Before we vote on it,
No, I'm asking for a second to the amended motion before we can even discuss it. Is there a second to the amended motion? I'll second it, so we can move forward with the discussion. Sorry, Ed, go on.
I'm not even clear on which motion we're seconding.
Debbie just read it. Would you
Well,
like to read it
okay.
again, please?
maybe the whole thing, that's what I was asking for,
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Okay. To continue work with communications analyst Lizzie, carrying the load, is bid for postings and work as needed with Fundini as contractor, with public outreach component, and I will wordsmith this better in the minutes, for the next 6 months, with an amendment to add to work with staff to bring the information to the board rather than through the social media public outreach committee.
It's a little different than what I recommended originally now, because I wasn't clear enough.
Right.
But my recommendation would be for 6 months is for the IT or social media support, and then the full 12 months for the public outreach.
Is that what we're doing?
No, that's not the motion,
But
but
that,
would
no,
you like
that's,
to withdraw?
I didn't mean to articulate a motion that more closely reflected Mr. Pruitt's outline.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're changing it again.
Well,
To continue to work with, so basically have Lizzie do the work and have that evaluated for the next 6 months when she's doing the social media postings. Work with Fondini for the next 12 months for public outreach component. And then work with staff to bring the information to the board rather than through the social media public outreach committee.
Is
Now,
that
are
a
you-
motion, Nancy? Sounds good.
Is it, and does that mean the committee is dissolved? Is that what you're suggesting?
yes.
Well, that's a
Well,
whole
that's
different
a whole
issue.
different
We're not
issue.
even going, that's not even on the agenda. So there's a motion, is there the motion, okay, would you like to have Debbie, would you like Debbie to read?
This 2-minute meeting.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Would you like to reread the motion so that,
Lizzie, basically, so I'm gonna rephrase this here. Lizzie will do the primary posting. She will be the postings for our social media, and that'll be evaluated in 6 months. We will use Fondini as the contractor and use them as a backup. We will use Fondini for the next 12 months for public outreach. And then the amendment was to add the information to come to the board via staff rather than through the social media public outreach committee.
Thank you, Debbie.
is there a second?
Did you
You
second that?
seconded it.
Oh, I did, that one, but, well, I just want to make sure since
It's a new
there,
version.
that's right, that's why I wanted to make sure that the version that the general manager clarified is the one that we're seconding.
Do we have a-
Seconding, okay,
Do
seconding.
you have a second to that additional amendment?
I'll second it.
I'll put a big check mark by all of that. Do you want a roll call?
Yes, please.
We still have
Oh,
commissioner
please.
comments. Yeah, I've had something on that. Maybe you forgot.
No, I didn't forget. I think I understand
committees aren't on the agenda.
Right.
Right? Do you have a comment now, Sabrina?
I support the general premise of the motion. I mean, I'd be fine with just keeping the contract going, but what, this business about the committee, I think is kind of ironic, to include that in the motion since, the reason that the committee hasn't been functional is because one of the committee members has refused to come to committee meetings. So I could see why that individual might want to disband the committee, since she might not want to attend committee meetings, okay? It's my turn, it's my turn, it is my turn right now, you will have your turn. So, be that as it may, whatever, what I care about is that there be a public process. And so what I care about is that the stakeholders, the public, will be able to have an opportunity, whether it's at a board meeting or committee meeting or whatever, that they'll have an opportunity to chime in and there'll be a discussion, public comment about the types of activities that people would like to see the Harbor District do for outreach. So that's what I care about. And then I also care about making sure that the board is clear on what the outreach is going to look like and that the board is able to weigh in on the outreach, and that way the public becomes educated and we all become educated. So that's what I care about. So I, would vote for this motion because I support continuing on with Fondini, but the part about the committee, which would have to be reread to me, because frankly I don't even remember at this point, I'm not on board with tying that to the motion. So that amendment that included the committee business, I'm not on board with that amendment. So for that reason, I'm not going to vote for this.
Nancy, would you like to make a comment? Okay, roll call, please.
I'm sorry, do we want to perhaps clarify what that looks like when it comes,
We can
from
put it
staff?
on the agenda for next month. Because I think any committee change has to be on the agenda. So there is a motion and a second on the table right now.
Please state your motion, please.
Kind of paraphrased, I will want to take. Lizzie will be the one doing the primary posting with backup from Fondini for 6 months. It'll be evaluated. Fondini will do the public outreach portion over the next 12 months with the amendment that the general manager and Lizzie or staff will work together to provide information to the board directly rather than through the committee. Great, does that sound right? Okay, you said roll call?
Yes, please.
Commissioner Matoush,
Abstain.
Commissioner Lorenz,
No.
President Shane Carlin, aye. Commissioner Brennan,
No.
Commissioner Byron.
So it does carry with the abstentions, not a no, is that right? I'm not sure.
Well, it's a tie.
Hysterical. Why don't you just kill the meeting and let the committee at the next meeting, get it solved then? Why is it gonna happen now? You can fix it so we all can go home, all you gotta do is just drop that amendment, do it at the next meeting. There must be a real important reason why you want that amendment in there.
So it's a 2-2 vote, I don't think it passes.
I think the abstention,
She's your lawyer.
if you'd like to make a public comment, please fill out a
I
comment.
feel out enough, I don't wanna go home unless I see this meeting again. We're playing games.
So,
Yeah, I'd like to.
I mean, I'm just, that's fine. I mean, I just want to be sure because that's not what I know abstentions to be.
Oh, I think you're right, okay, yes, thank you.
Can you find the,
Yes,
Yes.
the section, just so we all know, yes, I will do that.
Depends on why you abstained.
If you abstain because you have a conflict of
So,
Yeah, we have the recess.
abstentions are not counted in the tally, although they are counted for purposes of determining a quorum. Those abstaining tacitly agree to let the majority of those voting decide the issue. But we still have a tie.
Okay.
So let me see. I have a whole document on my website about this. I can look it up if I needed to. You still need a majority of those.
Okay, that's fine, so that, let's just say that the motion fails. You abstain, would you like to make a motion or make a comment?
I'm just unclear how much we're getting into this. I thought we were gonna try and transition more to having our own person do it. I can kind of see a little bit, our strategic plan is calling for some outreach. I'm unclear what it's gonna cost us.
So, do you want to look at any of these options, or do you want to?
No, I'd like to hear what it is.
For the public outreach portion of this is approximately $16,200.
So if we went for 6 months, it's 8,000.
What we're talking about, the motion was for the public outreach portion of the contract to continue for 1 year.
Okay. Can I clarify? I'm sorry. So according to the Dry Creek Valley Association case, in the absence of a rule to the contrary, persons abstaining will be counted as having voted with majority.
What are we doing?
Right.
There wasn't a majority.
So what are we doing for 6 months, so we're not doing it for a year?
Having Lizzie continue doing the posts and interfacing with funding as needed, and then we look at how that's going in 6 months.
Okay, let's restate the motion and see if we can get out of here.
I have a question.
Sure.
Julie, just so I understand, is this the only thing that the staff member who's doing posting does, or does she also have other responsibilities as well?
he also has other responsibilities. There's about 10 items that have been assigned to her.
Like what percentage of her day is like dedicated to, like, I'm just trying to get a sense of what we're asking a person to do here.
If she were to take social media completely over, it's estimated that 50% of her time would be spent on social media. With the support of Joe, it would be a little bit lesser. But say Joe posts 2 posts and she does 3 posts, then you would say that instead of 50% of the time, it would be 30% of the time that she would do work on social media.
And what other kinds of responsibilities, like, are these responsibilities that you have other staff to do, or if she's doing more on social media, what happens to the other work that has to get done?
It has to be absorbed by other staff members or given to a temporary person.
What kind of work are we talking about? I mean, I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but just to get a sense of it.
One of the big things that she's been doing is coordinating all of the IT consulting services. So Think Connected, she did a lot of work on putting out the RFP, coordinating the process, helping with the staff report, things like that. She'll be helping with the transition to
With the IT training?
the IT professional. She's also training to be our ADA coordinator, which is a legal requirement for the district to have somebody that coordinates accessibility.
Okay, that's
So
helpful.
I'd like to restate my motion to continue using Lizzie for in-house posting of interface with Fundini Partners for all of the public outreach. Within 6 months, we will review Lizzie's part of this piece of this social media. And the Fundini Partner public outreach cost is approximately $16,200 per year. And the final part of the motion would be that Fundini interface with staff to bring information forward to the board.
Is there a second? I'll second it.
Sorry, I'm still writing. Okay. Do we want me to
Roll
try?
call.
Yes.
To continue using Lizzie in-house for social media posting and use Fundini for public outreach with a cost about $16,200 for 12 months. Lizzie will be evaluated or work in 6 months. With Fundini interfacing with staff to bring information to the board.
And then just second.
Okay. Commissioner?
Do you need more clarification?
No.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Brennan? Aye. Commissioner Mathush?
Aye.
Commissioner Lorenz?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryring?
Aye.
President Champerlain?
Aye, so that motion carries. So it is almost 10:27. We are done with the open session items. We can go,
There's one other one that you want to go to, so,
you mean the recess? Yes,
Yes.
So the recess is to continue the closed session item about the interim general manager, the former interim general manager's merit and bonus consideration. But it is almost 10:30, so,
Can we move that to the following meeting,
or we can call a special meeting,
not a special meeting?
or we could call,
Next
or
meeting.
we could do it in January. So what is this board wish? Is that
My
eight
desire
to-
is move it to the next meeting.
I'd prefer to get it done.
Well, I mean, it is 10:30. And we would have to report out tonight, so we have to go back into the open session. So, and we still haven't done closed session either. So,
And do we have to hear that tonight, the closed session tonight?
no, so the choices are we can adjourn right now and put this on the January meeting. We can,
I think you need to have the closed session on the Schultz matter tonight.
okay, then, you know what? Is there a motion to extend the meeting to 10:45?
I'll have to stop it and put in a whole nother DVD if you do.
I'm sorry.
So moved.
Are you ready to stop?
We're making a motion to extend the meeting to 10:45.
Yeah, because I only got 14 minutes left. in
Okay,
this.
so 10:40, yeah, so, well, let's, is there a second to that?
We're resuming it.
Yep, we're resuming at 10:42.
42? Okay.
Hold
So,
on.
we're on item 16. So, and is there a motion to adjourn closed session?
I move that we adjourn closed session.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
All in favor?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye. Perfect. All opposed? That motion carries.
Okay.
So item 16 is to consider the merit bonus for the interim general manager, and I'm happy to report that we are giving you the 15%. Okay, so
that needs to be approved in open session.
okay, so is there a motion to approve that?
I move that we approve 15% bonus for John Warren for his
Second.
amazing service.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brennan? Aye. Commissioner Ryring?
Aye.
President Champerlain?
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Lorenz?
That motion carries.
Having a hard time to get
And
that.
then one last thing, item 17, which is the legal, conference of legal counsel. We do have a reportable item by our legal counsel on
I
the
don't
matter.
think we're gonna make it, we gotta extend 5 minutes.
Okay, is there a motion to extend to 10:50?
I move that we extend to 10:50.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. So Tricia, if you want to give a quick reportable item?
Yeah, I'm going to report that in closed session, the district board approved, all in favor of a settlement agreement in connection with the case of John Schultz versus San Mateo County Harbor District. The key points of that settlement agreement are that the Harbor District will remediate the restroom as set forth in the remediation chart presented by the plaintiff, and that restroom will be remediated by June 1st, 2020. The restaurant will complete the remaining remediation issues as set forth in the remediation chart by June 1st, 2020. The defendants, being the Harbor District, commit to, and the restaurant commit to reopening the restroom. The restaurant will post a sign regarding the public restrooms for those needing accommodations and provide assistance. And then monetary damages are being provided to the plaintiff. The Harbor District will pay the plaintiff $63,000 by January 8th, 2020. And the restaurant will pay the Harbor District $10,000 in 10 equal installments of $1,000 each, starting the first business day of February 2020. May I get a copy of that later?
Yes. Okay, great, thank you. So that is the reportable item. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay.
Who was it first?
Yes, and Tom second. So
All right.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, so the meeting is adjourned. It will be at 10:45.